Blood trickled down my leg, warm and sticky against my skin, but nobody seemed to notice or care. The garden party continued around me like I wasn't even there. Champagne glasses clinked, laughter floated through the air, and my mother-in-law Linda cooed over her precious German shepherd, who had just sunk his teeth into my thigh. "He's such a good boy, aren't you, Rex? You were just startled, weren't you?" She scratched behind his ears while I pressed my hand against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. "I'm Sarah." And this was the moment I realized my marriage was a carefully constructed lie. "Mark," I called out to my husband, who stood chatting with his aunt about his fourth-grade class. "Mark, I need help." He glanced over, his expression shifting from mild annoyance to concern, then quickly back to polite disinterest. "Just clean it up in the bathroom, honey. Mom's showing everyone Rex's new tricks." The burning in my leg matched the fury rising in my chest. 3 years of marriage, and this was what I'd become. Less important than a dog's party tricks. "It needs stitches," I said through gritted teeth, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. A few turned to look, discomfort crossing their faces. Linda's voice cut through the murmurs. "Oh, don't be dramatic, Sarah. Rex barely grazed you. You're making everyone uncomfortable." My brother Jake appeared at my side, his military training kicking in as he assessed the wound. "This is more than a graze, Linda. She needs medical attention." Then take her to urgent care," Linda waved dismissively. "But please do it quietly. We don't want to ruin the party." The party, her precious garden party, to show off her newly landscaped backyard and her son's perfect life. I watched blood seep through my fingers and wondered how I'd missed the signs for so long. "Mark," I tried one more time, my voice cracking. "Please." He shifted his weight, looking between his mother and me. "Mom's right, Sarah. Jake can take you. We have guests." The world tilted slightly, whether from blood loss or betrayal, I couldn't tell. Jake's arms steadied me as I stood. "Some husband you've got there," he muttered, leading me toward his car. Linda's voice carried across the lawn. "Now, who wants to see Rex jump through hoops? He's such a clever boy." In the car, Jake handed me a clean towel from his gym bag. "You know this isn't normal, right? The way they treat you." I pressed the towel against my leg, watching red bloom through the white fabric. I thought I was being paranoid, that maybe I was too sensitive about the dog because of what happened when I was a kid. "Sarah, that dog's attacked you twice now, and each time they've acted like you're the problem." The urgent care doctor took one look at the bite and called for stitches, 16 of them, pulling my flesh back together while my marriage fell apart in my mind. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Hope you're okay. Mom says Rex is really upset about all the commotion you caused." I stared at the message until the words blurred. The antiseptic smell of the clinic burned my nose as the doctor finished the last stitch. "You'll need to file a report," she said, snapping off her gloves. "Dog bites this severe require documentation." Jake squeezed my shoulder. "Do it. File the report." But I was already thinking beyond reports, beyond documentation, beyond the proper channels that hadn't protected me so far. "No," I said, my voice steady for the first time that day. "I have a better idea." Linda wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd forgotten something crucial about me. I'd learned long ago that the best revenge, like the worst betrayals, comes wrapped in a smile. The stitches pulled uncomfortably as I climbed the stairs to my office, each step a reminder of yesterday's humiliation. My phone buzzed. Another message from Mark. "Mom wants to know if you're coming to Sunday dinner. She says Rex misses you." I deleted the message without responding. 3 years ago, I would have laughed at the idea of falling for someone like Mark. But there he was at Emily's Halloween party, dressed as Mr. Rogers, earnestly explaining to anyone who'd listen why teaching 4th grade was the most rewarding job in the world. "You look like you're plotting someone's murder," Nina said, leaning against my desk, with her perfectly manicured nails drumming on the surface. "Rough weekend?" I minimized the browser window where I'd been researching dog bite lawyers. "Nothing I can't handle." "Right." She picked up the family photo on my desk. Mark, his daughter Lily, and me at the beach last summer. "How's the perfect little family?" Before I could answer, my phone lit up with Linda's name. I silenced it, but not before Nina caught the grimace I couldn't hide. Trouble in paradise. Her tone was sympathetic, but something in her eyes made me wary. Office politics had taught me that sympathy could be weaponized. Just mother-in-law drama. You know how it goes. Oh, I do. She perched on the edge of my desk. My first marriage ended because of my mother-in-law. She'd show up unannounced, rearrange our furniture, criticize my cooking. Sound familiar? I touched my bandaged thigh unconsciously. Linda's more subtle, usually. Usually? Nina raised an eyebrow. What changed? The phone buzzed again. This time it was Jake. Filed that report anyway. You can thank me later. I should get back to work, I said, turning to my computer. The Peterson campaign needs these mock-ups by noon. Nina lingered. You know, if you ever need to talk, thanks, but I'm fine. After she left, I opened my personal email to find 3 messages from Linda, each more passive-aggressive than the last. The final one made my blood boil. Darling, I spoke with Mark about your little incident. We agree it might be best if you seek professional help for your anxiety around animals. I know a wonderful therapist. My phone rang. Mark again. This time, I answered. Where are you? He demanded. Mom's been trying to reach you all morning. Working. You know, that thing I do to pay half our mortgage. Don't be like that. Mom's worried about you. She thinks. I don't care what she thinks. The words came out sharper than intended. I have 16 stitches in my leg because of her precious Rex. That's not fair. You startled him. By existing, by walking across your mother's yard? A long pause. Look, she's already made the appointment with Dr. Chen. Thursday at 2. I told her you'd go. The familiar pressure built behind my eyes. You told her I'd go to therapy without asking me. Sarah, please, just do this for me, for us. Us. There was that word again, the one that used to mean Mark and me, but increasingly meant Mark and Linda, with me as an afterthought. I have to go, I said, ending the call before he could respond. My computer pinged with a new email. The lawyer Jake recommended. As I read through the preliminary questions about the incident, a chat window popped up from Emily. Heard what happened? Wine tonight? My place. I started to type, yes, then stopped. Emily was friends with Mark first. Anything I said would get back to him. And by extension, Linda. Rain check, deadline hell. Looking at the family photo Nina had been examining, I noticed something I'd missed before. In the beach snapshot, Mark wasn't looking at the camera, or at me, or even at Lily. He was looking off to the side, where Linda had been standing, making sure we posed just right. I opened my drawer and laid the frame face down. Then I opened a new document and began typing. Not campaign mock-ups, but a detailed list of every incident, every manipulation, every time Linda had undermined me while Mark stood by. My leg throbbed, a steady reminder of yesterday's betrayal. But pain could be useful. It kept you sharp, kept you focused. And I needed focus now, because this wasn't just about a dog bite anymore. This was about survival. The manila envelope sat unopened on my kitchen counter for 3 days. Kevin, Linda's brother, had slipped it to me at the grocery store with trembling hands and guilty eyes. You need to see this, he had whispered before hurrying away. I finally opened it while nursing my 3rd glass of wine. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Linda at the dog training center, Rex's leash wrapped around her manicured hand. The dates stamped on the backs went back months. In each photo, she worked with the trainer, but not to calm Rex's aggression. The opposite. My hands shook as I spread them across the counter. Linda pointing at a photo of me. Rex being trained to respond aggressively to my scent, my movements, deliberate, calculated, malicious. The doorbell rang, making me jump. Mark stood there, Lily half asleep against his shoulder. Can she stay here tonight? He asked. Mom's not feeling well, and I need to help her, I finished. Like always. He shifted Lily's weight, avoiding my eyes. It's not like that. Then what's it like, Mark? I gestured at my leg, still bandaged. Tell me exactly what it's like. Lily stirred, and I softened my voice. Put her in her room. We need to talk. While Mark tucked her in, I gathered the photos, leaving just one on the counter. The clearest one, showing Linda with the trainer. My photograph held up like a target. Mark came down, already making excuses. I can't stay long. Mom's really. Look at this. I pushed the photo toward him. He glanced at it, then away. Too quickly. What am I supposed to be seeing? Look again. My voice cracked. Really look. It's just Mom at the training center. She told me she was working with Rex to make him safer around you. Is that what she told you? The wine burned in my throat. Because that's not what's happening here. His phone buzzed. Linda, of course. He reached for it automatically. Don't. I grabbed his wrist. For once in your life, don't answer her call. Sarah. She's training your dog to attack me. The words hung in the air between us. Your mother is deliberately training her dog to hurt me. That's ridiculous. Why would she? I dumped the rest of the photos on the counter. They scattered like fallen leaves, each one damning. Mark's face went pale as he looked through them. These could be anything, he said, but his voice wavered. You're jumping to conclusions. Kevin took them. Your uncle Kevin. Want to call him and ask? His phone buzzed again. This time he answered. Mom? Yeah, I'm still at. I know you're not feeling. Yes, but I watched him crumble under her words, watched him fold himself smaller and smaller until he was nothing but her echo. I'll be right there, he said finally. If you walk out that door, I said quietly, don't bother coming back. He hesitated, looking between me and the photos. You don't understand. She needs me. And I needed you 3 days ago when her dog tore into my leg. I needed you every time she undermined me, belittled me, pushed me aside. Where were you then? I can't choose between you. You already have. Every single day for 3 years you've chosen her. Linda's voice carried through the phone he still held. Mark, are you coming? He looked at me one last time, and I saw everything I needed to know in his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered, and walked out. I stood in the silence, listening to his car start, pull away. Upstairs, Lily slept peacefully, unaware that her father had just chosen his mother over his family once again. My phone lit up with a text from Jake. Got your message. You okay? I looked at the scattered photos, at the empty wine glass, at the space where my husband should have stood beside me. The rage I'd been suppressing finally broke free, clean and cold and clarifying. No, I typed back, but I will be. I gathered the photos, tucking them back into the envelope. Linda wanted to play games, fine, but she'd forgotten something crucial. I had nothing left to lose, and people with nothing left to lose make the most dangerous opponents. Upstairs, Lily mumbled in her sleep, and I made her a silent promise. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about protection. And I would protect us both, even if it meant burning everything else to the ground. Emily's wine glass clinked against mine. As we sat on her balcony, the city lights blurring below. You should hear how Linda's spinning it, she said, scrolling through her phone. According to her latest Facebook post, you're having a mental breakdown. My fingers tightened around the stem of my glass. What exactly does it say? Just the usual passive-aggressive concern. Prayers for our dear Sarah during this difficult time. 27 sympathetic comments and counting. A text from Mark lit up my phone. Mom's organizing an intervention. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I switched the phone off and reached for the bottle. Did you know Nina's been meeting with Linda? Emily's hand froze halfway to her mouth. What? Saw them at Riverside Cafe yesterday. Very cozy, very strategic. That's impossible. Nina doesn't even know. Linda's been busy. I pulled out my laptop, opening the folder of screenshots I'd collected. Look at these emails. Nina's been feeding her information about my work schedule, my clients, even my medication. Emily leaned closer, wine forgotten. How did you get these? Kevin. Turns out Linda's not as careful with her passwords as she thinks. I scrolled through the correspondence. She's building a case, mental instability, workplace issues, paranoid behavior, everything she needs to convince Mark I'm unfit to be around Lily. She wouldn't. She already is. I closed the laptop. The question is, who else is helping her? Emily stood abruptly, moving to the railing. Sarah, maybe you should consider. Consider what? The therapy they're pushing? The medications Linda's friend Dr. Chen wants to prescribe? I just mean, she gripped the railing tighter. Sometimes perception becomes reality. The city noise filled our silence. I watched her profile, remembering all our late-night conversations, all the secrets shared. How long? She didn't pretend not to understand. Since the first dog incident, Linda reached out, said she was worried about you, said you needed help, but wouldn't accept it from family. And you believed her? I believed I was helping. She turned, tears in her eyes. Sarah, you've changed. This obsession with Linda, the revenge planning. Obsession? I laughed, sharp and hollow. She trained her dog to attack me. She's trying to take my stepdaughter away. And you're working with her? Not working with her, just keeping her informed. For your own good. I stood steadier than I felt. Show me your phone. What? Show me your phone. She clutched it closer. You're being paranoid. That's what Linda says too. I held out my hand. Prove me wrong. Our eyes locked. Her fingers tightened around the phone. That's what I thought. I gathered my things, movements precise, despite the whine. You know what the worst part is? I actually needed a friend. Sarah, wait. I have to pick up Lily from dance class. I paused at the door. Don't worry. I'm sure Linda will love hearing all about this. Outside, the night air cleared my head. I checked my watch. Still 30 minutes before Lily's class ended. Time enough to make one stop. Kevin answered his door looking haunted. Sarah, what are you? I need everything. I pushed past him into his apartment. Every email, every text, every conversation you've overheard, all of it. It's not that simple. Linda's my sister. And I'm what? Collateral damage. I pulled out the dog training photos. Tesif Bez. You gave me these. Why stop now? He sank onto his couch. She's not well, Sarah. Hasn't been since Robert died. Mark's all she has left. So she destroys everyone else to keep him? Makes me look crazy so she can take my stepdaughter? I never thought she'd go this far. But she has. I sat beside him. And now you have a choice. Help me stop her or be complicit in what happens next. He stared at his hands for a long moment. Finally, he reached for his laptop. There's something you need to see about Mark's first wife. My phone buzzed. Linda's number. I declined the call, watching Kevin type in passwords, unlock folders, reveal secrets. The truth, I was learning, was like a dog bite. Once it broke the skin, there was no controlling how deep it went. The canvas shredded under Rex's claws. 3 years of work destroyed in seconds. Linda stood in my studio doorway, her face a mask of false concern, while the German Shepherd tore through my portfolio. Bad dog, she said without conviction. But really, Sarah, you shouldn't leave valuable things where they might get damaged. My hands trembled as I surveyed the destruction. The Peterson campaign mock-ups, the charity project sketches, the portrait of Lily I'd been working on for months. All ruined. How did you get in? My voice sounded distant, even to myself. Mark gave me his key, for emergencies. She smiled, patting Rex's head. And when you didn't answer your phone, well, I was worried. Especially after Emily told me about your episode. The pieces clicked together. Emily's betrayal, Nina's surveillance, and now this. My studio, my sanctuary, violated. Get out. Now, Sarah, this hostile attitude is exactly what? Get out. She stepped closer instead, Rex at her heel. You're not well, dear. Mark agrees. We're all very concerned about. My hand found the X-Acto knife on my desk. One more step and I'll show you what hostile really means. Something flickered in her eyes. Satisfaction? Before she retreated. I'll be sure to tell Mark about this incident. After they left, I sank to the floor among the shredded artwork. My phone buzzed with messages. Nina. Meeting postponed. Client concerns about project stability. Mark. Mom says you threatened her. Called emergency family meeting tonight. Emily. Just trying to help. Please don't shut us out. Jake. Got your voicemail. On my way. I was still sitting there when Jake arrived, his military boots crunching over broken glass and torn paper. Jesus, Sarah. He surveyed the damage. Did you call the police? What's the point? It's her word against mine. And she's got everyone convinced I'm having a breakdown. He picked up a shred of Lily's portrait. Then we fight back. I've got contacts in. No. I stood, something cold and certain settling in my chest. I'm done fighting fair. Sarah. Did you bring what I asked for? He hesitated, then pulled out a USB drive. Everything Kevin had on Linda, including what happened to Mark's first wife. I plugged it into my laptop, scanning through files until, there, a police report, medical records, court documents. Holy shit, Jake whispered, reading over my shoulder. Linda did the same thing to her? The dog attacks, the gaslighting. Until she lost custody of Lily. I clicked through more documents, then conveniently had a nervous breakdown and needed Mark to move back home. My phone buzzed again. Mark, where are you? Everyone's waiting at Mom's. Jake grabbed my wrist as I reached for my keys. You can't go there alone. Watch me. At least let me. No. I pulled away. I need you to pick up Lily from school. Take her to your place. What are you going to do? I looked at the ruins of my studio, at the shredded portrait of my stepdaughter. What I should have done months ago. The drive to Linda's house was a blur. I rehearsed what I'd say, what I'd reveal, but when I walked into her perfectly decorated living room, saw the concerned faces of family and friends, arranged like props in her performance, words seemed inadequate. Linda rose, arms outstretched. Sarah, dear, we're all here because... I pulled out my phone, clicked play. Her voice filled the room. The dog needs more training. Make sure he only attacks when Sarah's alone. We need witnesses to see her unstable behavior, not the provocations. The recording continued, laying bare every manipulation, every calculated move. Mark's face went pale. Emily looked away. Nina shifted uncomfortably. Linda's mask cracked. That's clearly edited. Sarah's trying to what? I tossed the USB drive onto her pristine coffee table. Show them how you did the same thing to Mark's first wife. How you orchestrated her losing custody of Lily. The room went silent. Mark stared at his mother, really seeing her perhaps for the first time. Everything I did, Linda said, her voice shaking. I did for family. I smiled, cold and sharp as the X-Acto knife in my studio. Funny, that's exactly what I'm doing too. And I laid out my own carefully gathered evidence, watching her perfect world begin to crumble. The emergency room lights buzzed overhead as the doctor stitched my arm. 32 stitches this time. Rex had gone for my throat, but I'd managed to block with my forearm. Linda's voice still echoed in my head. He was protecting me. You came at me with those scissors. Jake paced the small examination room. We're pressing charges. This ends now. Already tried. I winced as the needle pulled through flesh. Linda showed them the studio security footage. Edited, of course. Shows me threatening her with the X-Acto knife, but conveniently cuts out the part where she sicked Rex on me. There has to be something. My phone lit up with Mark's message. Lily's staying with Mom until this is sorted out. Her lawyer says it's safer. The doctor finished the last stitch. You'll need to file a report. Don't bother. I stood swaying slightly. They'll just add it to my growing file of unstable behavior. Outside, rain pelted the parking lot. Jake grabbed my arm as I headed for my car. You're not driving, and you're not going home. I have to, Lily. Is safe with my wife right now. I lied to Linda about picking her up from school. My knees buckled. Jake caught me before I hit the pavement. She's going to take her, I whispered, like she took her from her mother. Sarah, you don't understand. Linda's already filed for emergency custody. Mark's supporting her petition. They're using the dog attacks as evidence of my mental instability. Jake helped me into his truck. Then we fight it. Kevin's testimony. Kevin's dead. The words hung between us. Jake's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What? Car accident. 2 hours ago. Very convenient timing, don't you think? He pulled over, killing the engine. Are you saying Linda? I'm saying Kevin called me right before it happened. Said he had proof about Mark's first wife. Real proof. Video recordings. He was on his way to meet me when my phone buzzed again. Linda. Such a tragedy about Kevin. He was so troubled lately, drinking too much. At least he didn't take anyone else with him when he drove off that bridge. Another message followed. Lily's asking for her stuffed rabbit. The one in your studio. Come alone. Don't, Jake said, reading over my shoulder. It's a trap. Of course it is. I opened the truck door. But what choice do I have? The studio was dark when I arrived. Linda sat in my chair. Rex at her feet, the shredded remains of Lily's portrait scattered around them. Where's the rabbit? She held up the worn toy. You know, Mark's first wife asked about a stuffed animal, too. The night before she disappeared. She didn't disappear. You drove her away, then took her daughter. I protected my family. Linda stroked Rex's head, like I'm doing now. By killing your own brother? Kevin was weak, like Mark's father, like everyone who tries to come between me and my son. Rex growled, low and threatening. I backed toward the door. You won't get away with this. I already have. She smiled, dropping the rabbit into the trash. Who would believe you? The unstable artist who attacked me with scissors, who's been harassing our family. Poor Mark, having to commit his wife just like he did his first one. What? Oh, didn't you know? There's a bed waiting for you at Pine Grove, the same facility where his first wife spent her final days. Mark signed the papers this morning. The door clicked behind me. Mark stepped out of the shadows, holding commitment papers. I'm sorry, he whispered. It's for the best. Linda stood, Rex tensing beside her. You see, Sarah, some people just aren't fit for family life. But don't worry, we'll take good care of Lily. I looked between them, my husband, my mother-in-law, the snarling dog, and realized I'd walked right into their endgame. Now, Linda said softly, Rex, protect. The dog lunged as Mark reached for me, and in that moment, I understood with perfect clarity. This wasn't about winning anymore. This was about survival. The annual Thompson family reunion buzzed with forced cheer, everyone pretending not to notice Linda's tight smile or Mark's haunted eyes. I moved through the crowd like a ghost, Kevin's final video burning a hole in my phone. Sarah, Linda intercepted me, champagne glass in hand. I didn't expect you to come after your episode. Wouldn't miss it. I glanced at Rex, chained to a tree nearby. Family tradition, right, Dad? Her fingers tightened on the glass. Mark tells me you're refusing treatment. Funny how history repeats itself, like what happened to his first wife. Something dangerous flickered in her eyes. Catherine was unstable, like you're becoming. Was she? Or did she just figure out what you really are? The party chatter dimmed as Linda stepped closer. You should be careful, dear. Paranoid accusations could lead to unfortunate consequences, like driving off bridges. I pulled out my phone. Kevin thought so too. Her composure cracked just for a moment. Whatever you think you have, ladies and gentlemen, I raised my voice, tapping my glass. A toast to family secrets. Mark appeared at his mother's side. Sarah, don't. I connected my phone to the outdoor speakers. Kevin's voice filled the garden. Linda, stop. You can't keep doing this. Catherine didn't kill herself, and we both know it. I have proof. The recording cut to squealing tires, breaking glass. Linda lunged for my phone. You manipulative little... Oh, I learned from the best. I stepped back, playing the next file. Linda's voice now. The dog needs more training. Make sure he only attacks when Sarah's alone. The party guests froze. Mark's aunt dropped her plate. That's not, Linda started. Everything's documented. I met Mark's eyes. Every manipulation, every orchestrated accident, just like with Catherine. Mom? Mark's voice cracked. What is she talking about? Linda's mask shattered. She's lying. Rex, protect. The chain snapped. Not an accident. I realized too late. The dog charged as guests scattered. But I was ready. The taser Jake had given me connected with Rex's chest. The dog yelped, stumbling. No! Linda screamed. Mask completely gone now. You stupid bitch, you've ruined everything. She grabbed a knife from the buffet table, lunging past the fallen dog. I caught her wrist as the blade swung toward my throat. Linda! Mark grabbed her other arm. Stop! She's trying to take you away. Linda thrashed against our grip. Like Catherine tried, I won't let her. Tell him, I gritted out, struggling with the knife. Tell him what really happened to Catherine. I protected our family. The knife clattered to the ground. She was going to take Lily, take Mark, just like you're trying to do. Mark stumbled back. Mom, what did you do? Only what I had to. Linda's voice rose hysterically. She was weak, unstable, like this one. The dog attacks, the accidents. She brought it on herself, just like Sarah did. Phones recorded everything. Witnesses stood frozen, watching Linda's breakdown. Catherine didn't kill herself, I said quietly. Did she? Linda's laugh turned wild. Kill herself? No, she had help, just like Kevin, just like you will. Mark caught her as her knees buckled. Oh God, Mom, what did you do? Police sirens wailed in the distance, Jake's timing perfect as always. Linda's eyes locked onto mine, hatred burning through her tears. You think you've won? She spat. You've destroyed our family. No, I picked up my phone, still recording. You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone could see it. As officers led Linda away, Mark touched my arm. Bah. Sarah, don't. I stepped back. You knew, maybe not everything, but enough. And you chose to look away. What happens now to them? I watched Linda being placed in the police car, her perfect world crumbling around her. Now we let justice finish what revenge started. The gathered crowd whispered and pointed, Linda's carefully crafted reputation dissolving in real time. Her final scream echoed across the garden. I did it for family. But looking at the destruction around us, the scattered food, the shocked faces, the broken relationships, I wondered if any of us really knew what family meant anymore. The courthouse steps felt colder than they should in September. Linda's sentencing had taken less than an hour. A neat bow on a messy package of murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy charges. I watched Mark guide his mother's stooped figure toward the waiting police car, her designer suit hanging loose on her frame. You got what you wanted, Emily said from behind me. Why don't you look happier? I turned to face my former friend. What do you want? To explain. Linda manipulated all of us. She made me believe that you were protecting me. I touched the scars on my arm. Save it for your testimony in the civil suit. She flinched. Nina and I never meant to help drive a woman to suicide, to cover up Kevin's murder, to destroy my life. I stepped closer. Which part didn't you mean, Emily? Mark approached, his eyes red. Sarah, please, Mom's sick, the psychiatrist said. Don't. I held up my hand. You don't get to rewrite this ending. Lily waited in Jake's car, drawing in her sketchbook. My latest custody filing sat in my lawyer's office, backed by evidence of Mark's complicity in Linda's schemes. She's asking about you, Mark said quietly. About coming home. Home? I laughed. Where's that, Mark? The house where your mother trained her dog to attack me? The studio she destroyed? Or maybe the mental hospital where you were going to commit me? Bichal. Emily stepped between us. We were all victims of Linda's manipulation. No, I cut her off. Linda was a monster, but you all chose to feed it. Again and again. The police car pulled away, Linda's face a pale oval in the back window. I thought of Catherine, Mark's first wife, wondering if she'd stood on these same steps, fighting the same battles. What happens now? Mark asked. Now? I watched Linda disappear around the corner. Now I take my stepdaughter to art class. I rebuild my business. I sleep without checking the locks 3 times. And us? There is no us. There's just the custody arrangement and divorce papers you'll be getting tomorrow. I walked toward Jake's car, but Emily called after me. How can you just walk away after everything we shared? I paused. That's the thing about revenge, Emily. Once you get it, you realize it was never what you really wanted. Lily looked up as I slid into the passenger seat. Can we get ice cream? Sure, kiddo. I glanced at her sketchbook. She'd drawn a family portrait, but Linda's face was scribbled out in angry black lines. Jake started the engine. "You okay?" "No." I watched Mar and Emily grow smaller in the side mirror. "But I will be." At the ice cream shop, Lily got chocolate on her nose, and Jake told bad jokes, and for a moment, everything felt almost normal. My phone buzzed with a text from Nina. "I'm sorry for everything." I deleted it without responding. Later, in my new apartment, I unpacked my art supplies. The blank canvas waited, patient and judgmental. I thought of Linda in her prison cell, of Mark in his empty house, of Emily and Nina living with their choices. The first brush stroke was red, angry, alive. The second was deeper, darker. I painted until midnight, until the canvas held all the pain and triumph and cost of revenge. Lily's voice carried from her bedroom. "Sarah, can you check for monsters?" I set down my brush, looking at the half-finished painting. It showed a woman standing in a garden, face turned away, while behind her, a family portrait burned. But in the flames, something new was taking shape, undefined yet, but growing. "No monsters here," I told Lily, tucking her in. "Not anymore." She grabbed my hand. "Promise you won't leave like Mommy did." The question hit like a punch. Catherine's fate, Linda's manipulation, my own brush with destruction. All of it crystallized in Lily's innocent fear. "I promise." I squeezed her hand. "Some people leave because they have to. Others leave because someone makes them. But I'm staying because I choose to." Back at my canvas, I added one final detail. A child's hand holding a paintbrush, creating her own story. Revenge had given me justice, but Lily had given me something better, a reason to build rather than destroy. The monsters were gone, but their shadows remained. In our scars, our memories, our art. Sometimes that's all you get. Sometimes it's enough.
"Susan, what are you doing?" As we returned from shopping, we were surprised to see a moving truck parked in front of our house, with my in-laws looking at me with astonishment. My mother-in-law continued directing the movers. "Don't just enter our home without permission. Don't get sassy with me, young lady. Open the door now," my father-in-law insisted, reaching for my purse. Startled, I pulled back, clutching my bag. My mother-in-law watched with a sly smile. "Strangers, leave immediately." Stunned by her words, I was speechless. Tom, overhearing everything, turned pale and began trembling. "Do you realize who you're talking to, Mom? What is going on?" I knew it was time to reveal the truth. Determined, I faced my furious mother-in-law. "My name is Christy Grubb. I'm 48 and I run an insurance agency, a business I inherited from my father. I love keeping things organized and helping clients find the right insurance is my passion. Thanks to long-standing relationships from my father's era, our business is thriving. I met my husband, Tom, when I was 30 at a work event, introduced by a client and family friend who suggested we have coffee. Tom, 2 years older than me, had recently ended a relationship with a long-term girlfriend who had cheated on him. We clicked immediately, exchanged contact information, and soon started dating. At that time, my mother wasn't in good health, and I wanted to fulfill her wish of seeing me in a wedding dress, so I was actively looking for a partner. I think I was a bit rushed to get married. Tom, on the other hand, wasn't as eager. However, he respected my feelings, and 6 months after we met, he proposed. I joyfully accepted, tearfully saying, "Please take care of me." Everything progressed quickly after that. We met each other's parents and held a small, family-only wedding. My mother looked so happy seeing me in my wedding dress, and she peacefully passed away the next month. Thanks to Tom, I was able to fulfill her last wish. I decided to cherish Tom, who stood by me and supported me at my mother's funeral for the rest of my life. Even after 5 years of marriage, Tom and I hadn't had children. We believed that children are a gift from heaven and didn't feel rushed, but my in-laws brought it up. It happened when we visited them for New Year's. Tom was hesitant to go, but we went because my mother-in-law had contacted me directly, asking if we would come. "No child yet? When are you going to give me a grandchild?" My mother-in-law prodded. "Mom, we've told you it's up to nature. If you're going to talk like that, we're leaving," Tom interjected firmly. I understand, but maybe the field is barren, she persisted. That's insensitive, Mom. Christy, I'm sorry. Let's go, Tom said, leading me towards the door. Just as we reached the doorstep, she brought up grandchildren again. We left their house abruptly, skipping the New Year's greetings we had come to exchange. I had persuaded Tom to go, yet as soon as we were back in the car, he apologized to me. I'm really sorry that made you uncomfortable. I'm okay, Tom. I'm sorry for making you feel bad. It's all right for me. They're my parents after all. But now my family is you, Christy. If anyone, even my parents, hurts you, I'm ready to cut ties with them. It's clear we've never really seen eye to eye. Even without issues about you, we've grown apart as adults, Tom admitted with a trace of sadness on his face. All I could manage was a quiet, yeah. From then on, Tom made a deliberate effort to distance us from his parents, and eventually, we moved to a new place. Despite their attempts to reconnect and ask for our address, Tom ignored their calls. For the next 13 years, contact with my in-laws was limited to family events like weddings or funerals. By our 40s, they stopped mentioning grandchildren, which was a small relief. However, one day, out of nowhere, they managed to find our new place and paid us a surprise visit. Unfortunately, Tom was out with a friend that day. Knowing I was alone, Mike and Susan, my in-laws, barged into our home, loudly rifling through our belongings. My, you two still share a bed at your age? How scandalous. Christy, with these undergarments, Tom must be quite excited, Susan remarked, ignoring my obvious discomfort at their invasive comments. They continued snooping around, making disparaging remarks as they went. This might be why you haven't given us any grandchildren. Don't worry, dear, there's still hope. Look, Susan exclaimed, thrusting a crumpled newspaper article into my hands. It featured a story about a woman who gave birth at 60. I felt a chill realizing their implications. We've been too lenient with you. Even at your age, you can still have kids, right? Maybe you should move in with us. I'm home. Do we have visitors? Just as Susan continued her tirade, my father walked in. What they didn't know was that Tom and I had been living with my father since we moved. Tom cared deeply for my father, and my dad treated him like his own son. Their expressions turned to shock upon seeing my dad. You're making Tom support your father too? Normally, one would show gratitude to their husband's parents first. I was speechless, unsure how to respond to Mike and Susan's entitled behavior. We're grateful for your kindness. I didn't expect to see Christy's father here. Isn't it a hit to your pride, relying on my son? Susan remarked, casting a pointed glance at my father. Well, you know, my dad replied with a vague smile, clearly not fazed by their insinuation. Their displeasure was evident as they exchanged irritated looks. Mom, Dad, how did you even find this place? Tom stormed in, his earlier anger evident as he returned sooner than expected due to his friend feeling unwell. Susan shrugged nonchalantly. You never told us, so we hired a detective. It wasn't cheap. You'll cover the costs, right? No way I'm paying for that, Tom retorted sharply, striding over to Susan and forcibly pulling her up. Ignoring her protests, he escorted her out of the room. Hey, that hurts. Tom, what are you doing? You're hurting your mother. Stop it. Susan cried out while Mike's voice boomed in protest. But Tom remained resolute, guiding Susan all the way to the door and pushing her out. Don't ever come back here. I'm seriously considering cutting ties with you both, Tom declared firmly. Oh dear, is this Christy's influence? What kind of wife have you married? Susan exclaimed in disbelief. This has nothing to do with Christy. I've made my decision. Leave. Tom's tone brooked no argument. Despite Susan's continued protests, Tom threatened to involve the authorities if they didn't leave immediately. Reluctantly, they departed. Afterward, Tom apologized to me and my father for the disruption. I'm really sorry. I can't believe they went so far as to hire a detective to find us. They've been incredibly disrespectful, Tom lamented. No, Tom, it's not your fault. I know you're a good kid. Come on, let's eat together, my father reassured him. Thank you. Tom, tears welling in his eyes, expressed his gratitude to my father repeatedly. That evening, the three of us enjoyed a pleasant dinner together. After discussing it, we decided not to relocate and agreed to involve the police if they returned. Surprisingly, days turned into weeks without any sign of my in-laws, and we began to believe we could resume our peaceful life. A month after my father passed away, Tom and I took a trip to gather some mementos of him. On our way back, I couldn't help but shout, Susan, what are you doing? As we returned from shopping, we were taken aback to find movers and my in-laws gathered outside our house. Susan glanced at me with surprise before resuming her instructions to the movers. Don't just enter the house without permission. Don't talk back to me, young lady. Just open the door, Mike insisted, reaching for my bag. Panicking, I clutched my bag tightly and stepped back. Susan's smile turned sinister as she added, outsiders should leave immediately. I was too shocked to respond, but Tom, overhearing everything, trembled with anger, his face reddening. Do you even know who you're talking to, Mom? What is all this about? It felt like the right moment to reveal the truth amidst Susan's furious tirade. This is my house. You know exactly what you're doing. You made Tom buy this house, didn't you? How shameless can you be? Susan's accusatory gaze fixed on me. Turning to Tom, who sighed deeply, I waited for him to speak. This house belongs to Christy. I'm here with her permission, Tom asserted firmly. Tom, is Christy blackmailing you? Poor thing, you don't have to resort to such obvious lies. Besides, Christy is a housewife, isn't she? Susan's words hit Tom like a slap, insinuating manipulation and undermining Christy's role. Tom's eyebrows shot up in indignation. He was clearly angered by Susan's implications about Christy and the term housewife. What do you mean Christy is a housewife? Christy runs an insurance agency. You don't know what you're talking about. She's always at home, yet she goes out to spas and other places. Just the other day, she was dining at a fancy restaurant with some unknown man. Disgusting. The unknown man Susan referred to was likely a client. Recently, a former client of Christy's father invited her to a hotel lunch to discuss business and reminisce about old times. Tom was initially invited as well, but had to work, so Christy attended alone. Despite it being a professional meeting, Susan's accusations seemed fueled by a desire to sow discord between Tom and Christy, despite any evidence from a detective she might have hired. That person is an acquaintance of mine and primarily a client of Christy's. I couldn't attend that day due to work, but we occasionally dine together, Tom clarified. Tom, you're being deceived. It's not too late. You can marry a younger woman and have grandchildren, Susan persisted. I would never want to marry anyone other than Christy, and besides, I can't have children with anyone else anyway. What? What do you mean? Susan and Mike both looked bewildered at Tom's outburst. I stood frozen, trying to make sense of the situation. Tom and I had never undergone fertility tests. He believed that discovering any issues might lead to unnecessary blame. A few years ago, during a high fever, my doctor had suggested testing. I went alone and found out I was infertile from birth. I had kept it secret, fearing Tom might leave me if he knew. Just because we can't have children doesn't mean I would ever leave you, I assured him. Yeah, I know, but I couldn't shake the insecurity, Tom admitted quietly. Instinctively, I hugged him tightly, feeling a renewed determination to cherish Tom forever. What do you mean you can't have kids? You've been a defective product all along. Is this some kind of joke? Have you been deceiving us? Susan and Mike, completely ignoring my presence, began berating Tom. Tom met their harsh words with a steely gaze. I've told you countless times I'm not your puppet, calling your own son a defective product. Parents shouldn't say things like that. What's wrong with calling a defective product just that? Susan's anger flared, and she grabbed Tom by the chest, moving menacingly closer. Tom uttered a man's name softly. At the sound, Susan's face drained of color, and she backed away in shock. Who is that? I have no idea, Tom replied, his expression puzzled. Mike and a visibly flustered Susan listened as Tom calmly continued. That's the name of my biological father. What do you mean? Your father is me, isn't it? I only found out recently too. Remember when you hired a detective to follow me? Well, I hired one too, and I found out quite a bit. Tom held up his smartphone, displaying the screen to Mike. Susan's face turned pale as a sheet, and then, as he looked at the screen, Mike's face flushed red, and he began to tremble. You were cheating on me. So this guy is Tom's father, and you've been having an affair for 50 years. That's not what happened. What do you mean that's not what happened? You dared deny it when you were hugging each other. Ignoring my in-laws as they started arguing loudly, Tom and I instructed the moving company to relocate our belongings to a nearby storage unit. We were informed there would be an additional charge, but since my in-laws had initiated this chaotic situation, it seemed only fair that they shoulder the cost. So I've been raising another man's son, huh? I'm horrified at the thought of spending money on a child who isn't even mine. Tom, you better take responsibility and support me. Got it? Huh? No way. What? You have an obligation to support me. My father-in-law lunged at Tom, but Tom deftly sidestepped him, a wry smile on his face. The one who needs to take responsibility is Mom. I'm just a person who was born. Besides, you didn't even pay for my high school and college expenses. I've been financially independent since high school. How can you say that? While I struggled to earn money for tuition, unable to socialize with friends, you were taking my part-time job earnings. What else do you expect me to say to a father like that? It was then that I fully understood why Tom harbored such resentment toward his father, yet his father seemed unapologetic, as if everything he did was justified. A child's money belongs to the parents, and so does the money of their child's spouse. But we're not related by blood, only on paper. If you really want to sever ties and repay all the money we've spent on you. I already have. I've been sending money back every month. Huh? Sending money? I was aware that Tom had been sending money to his parents' house, even more than they asked for, just to keep them from interfering in our lives. Yet his father seemed genuinely surprised about the money. Look, I've been transferring $1,500 every month. What's going on here? I see now. Mom has been using all my money for herself and her lover. What? Susan shifted uncomfortably as her husband approached and slapped her across the face. Shocked at first, she quickly recovered and retorted, "How dare you? You should be grateful that a man with no money or status would marry me. He's a man with both. Staying married to you was just convenient for enjoying life with him. I even let you raise his child, didn't I? Be thankful." Are you serious? I married you because you said you were pregnant, even after your father attacked me. So what? He deserved it if he got beaten up. Susan's sudden and dramatic change in attitude left her father-in-law speechless. Just then, Susan's smartphone rang loudly. Checking the screen, her face lit up as she answered in a sweet, affectionate voice. "Hello, darling. What's up? Miss me?" I couldn't help but shudder hearing Susan's voice for the first time. Tom stood beside me with a twisted expression, though he had a knowing smile. I would soon understand the significance behind that smile. "Wait, you're not, darling." "Ma'am, what? Oh no, this must be a mistake, or rather, all of this. Alimony, $10 million. Please just hold on a moment." Susan spoke frantically into the phone, but it seemed she was abruptly cut off, leaving her dazed. Tom chuckled softly. All the evidence, photos, and recordings must have reached them. "What? This is your fault. It's called sharing information. Oh, and by the way, she has no intention of divorcing your boyfriend. He's just another son-in-law in her family. Tough times ahead for you, not knowing him well. It seems he's keeping a few mistresses. His wife even told him to only cheat with younger women, right? He must be getting an earful right about now. Mistresses. But he told me he loved only me." Susan slumped to the ground, stunned by these revelations. Mike looked down at her with a satisfied smirk, then turned to Tom with the proposition. "Must have been tough with such a mother. I'll let bygones be bygones this time. Let's live together, just us three. Cut ties with your mother and it'll be you, me, and Christy. Christy, I'll take care of you." "Stay away from Christy." Tom's warning fell on deaf ears as Mike moved towards me. In one swift motion, I grabbed his hand and flipped him onto the ground. "Of what the?" Mike was surprised and confused by the sudden turn of events. I stood over him with a cold gaze. In reality, I had been attending self-defense classes since I was young. Despite my insurance work involving negotiations with various clients, my father insisted I learn self-defense as a precaution. Over time, I grew to enjoy the classes and continued them after taking over the business. Though I wondered if I had been too rough with a 75-year-old man like Mike. Seeing Tom's satisfaction as he watched his father on the ground eased my mind. Mike seemed too shocked to speak, but Susan, my mother-in-law, turned her attention to me. "Christy, that was quite impressive. I'm sure you can handle anything. How about this? Why don't you pay the alimony to that woman for me? If we live together, we could save on living expenses and I can help with the household chores. And as for kids, we could always adopt. I take good care of them." "Are you serious? There's no way I'm letting someone like you into my home filled with memories of Tom, my father, and me. And why should I pay your alimony? You should take care of your own responsibilities." My patience had worn thin, and I spoke bluntly, expressing all the thoughts that had been brewing inside me. Susan was taken aback at first, unused to being addressed so directly. Her initial surprise quickly turned to anger, her face flushing red as she raised her voice again. "How dare you speak to your husband's mother like that? I've already told everyone we're moving in, and besides, that house is about to be demolished. I have no home to go to anymore, so let me stay." "What are you saying? He's my son. He should be with me." Mike, joining in Susan's protests, stood up from the ground and shouted back. Amid their heated argument, Tom calmly and firmly reiterated our decision. "Neither of you will be moving in with us. We're cutting ties completely. If you cause any more trouble here, we will call the police." "The police?" At the mention of the police, my in-laws paled and backed away. Continuing to argue, they eventually headed off toward the train station, their voices fading into the distance. Later on, Mike and Susan went through a divorce, but their financial struggles forced them back together. Mike attempted to claim alimony from Susan and her lover, only to face a counterclaim from the lover's wife. Susan, unaccustomed to hard work, found it challenging to hold a job, often quitting at the slightest inconvenience, while they both struggled to make ends meet with their combined incomes. Meanwhile, the lover faced severe consequences, losing his potential presidency and becoming reclusive at home, squeezed financially by his wife's intentions to take him to court. Surprisingly, Tom bounced back quickly from the ordeal. Despite being approached by the lover's family to become an heir due to shared blood, Tom declined, feeling it was too much for him, and signed away any claims to the inheritance. It was typical of Tom, not one for competition or greed, a trait that brought a sense of relief and pride to me. As for me, a business associate recently offered me a cat they found, and I'm eagerly preparing for its arrival. I've already chosen a name, Marine, as a nod to the fishing trips my father and Tom used to enjoy, and the cat's blue eyes that remind me of the sea. Tom shares my excitement, looking forward to welcoming our new family member. As the doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of the cat, I greeted my business associate warmly. "Welcome." "I get it. You two are serious. Let's proceed with the divorce, shall we? Are you okay with that?" "Yes, thank you. The timing is perfect. Now I can go on next week's trip without any sneaking around." What a situation. With both the pregnancy and divorce confirmed, today's the right time for a getaway. It'll be harder to travel with a bigger belly, so we planned this trip now. I was actually going to lie about a business trip next week. I'm in the middle of divorcing my husband after discovering his affair. It's unbelievable. Since I mentioned divorce, my husband and his mistress have been openly discussing their plans in front of me. They even talked about the lies they were going to tell to make this trip happen. Their audacity is astounding. After deciding on the divorce, I moved into a hotel temporarily. There, I received an envelope addressed to me. Inside was a completed divorce form. I know they want to finalize things quickly, but sending it during their trip? Are they mocking me? I'm bewildered by their actions, but having the papers makes it easier for me. Fine, I'll file for divorce. I'll also arrange to move my belongings tomorrow. I decided it's time to make these two realize the gravity of their actions. I'm Jennifer, a 36-year-old pharmacist. People often assume I've been married for a while with older kids, but I'm actually a newlywed, married to Kevin for less than a year. Everyone called our marriage a miracle, and I agree. It wasn't just that I married at my age, but also that my husband, 10 years younger and quite handsome, was part of it. I proudly shared his photo when announcing our marriage. We met at work, an older woman like me and a younger man. I'm not particularly social, and with many women at my workplace, most customers are elderly, so I rarely met young men. With no romantic prospects, I suddenly realized I was over 30. While I wanted to marry eventually, I found fulfillment in my work. About 2 years ago, just as I was settling into that mindset, an unexpected encounter changed everything. "Excuse me, can you help me?" "Sure, I'll take your prescription." It was at the pharmacy where I worked that my then 24-year-old husband entered. A salesman, he had been in a traffic accident during his rounds and came in to pick up patches for his injuries. Handsome men rarely visited, so my colleagues and I secretly got excited, though they were all married, and I didn't think a young man like him would be interested in me. We admired him from afar, treating him like a celebrity on TV. I simply processed his medicine and payment, appreciating his looks but nothing more. His visits for treatment continued, making my workplace a regular stop for him. Sorry, can you help me with this? Sure, I'll take your prescription. As usual, my husband and I only exchanged necessary words. This was his third visit for patches, and I figured his treatment would soon end, meaning this might be the last time I'd see him. As I fetched the patches and handed over the prescription, I noticed a note attached with a string of letters and numbers. Initially, I thought it might be some work-related note, but it seemed odd for such instructions to be on a prescription. Curious, I peeled off the note and examined it closely. It looked like an ID, possibly for a messaging app. Why would his contact information be on the prescription? I wondered. Confused, I asked my colleagues, is this a hospital directive to contact someone? My question surprised the three married colleagues present. Worried I had said something inappropriate, I felt embarrassed until they accused me of showing off. One even threw a paper and pen at me, demanding I write down my contact information. It was then that I realized the note was my husband's discreet way of sharing his details with me. I hadn't been oblivious or naive. I simply never imagined he would pass me his contact information. Understanding finally dawned. I quickly wrote down my details and hurried back to where my husband was waiting. Sorry for the delay. Here's your medication for this time. Thank you. As I handed over the patch as usual, expecting the usual routine, my husband calmly took it. The only difference this time was that I had discreetly slipped a piece of paper with my contact details into the package. That night, I debated whether or not to reach out to him, staring at my smartphone on the table. It screened dark. I wanted to, but I found myself hesitating, searching for a reason to delay. Suddenly, my phone lit up and buzzed, startling me. It was a message from my husband inviting me out to dinner. I had no reason to decline. He continued to ask me out, and from there, we started dating, eventually leading to marriage 2 years later. During our courtship, I once asked him why a young man like him had given his contact details to an older woman like me. I thought you were in your 20s until our first dinner date. What did you think when you found out my age? I was surprised that you were older than I initially thought. Is that all? Huh? Yeah, pretty much. If I like someone, I go for it, regardless. My husband, not understanding the deeper meaning behind my question, replied with his own question. It seemed age was not a factor for him in love or marriage. In that moment, I felt embarrassed for worrying so much about my age. However, as my concerns about age dissipated, new worries about wedding expenses and starting our life together arose. Should I contribute more financially? I found it difficult to broach the topic directly, so I hesitated. I earned significantly more than my husband, thanks to my savings as a pharmacist compared to his sales job, exacerbated by our age difference. Naturally, I wondered if he felt uncomfortable earning less than his wife. Besides, being only 26, he hadn't saved much yet, and I felt guilty about him bearing the cost of our wedding and new life. Why don't we split it 50-50ths? I'll work harder from now on. Like my age-related concerns, this worry too proved unnecessary. My husband reassured me, easing all my fears, so by the time we married, I felt genuinely happy and free of doubt. Colleagues and friends congratulated us, and I believed we would lead a joyous married life. However, things soon began to change. The first 3 months were blissful. My husband rushed home eagerly. We spent weekends hand in hand, and he helped around the house. The only missing piece for a perfect life was a child, though my age made me apprehensive. Yet, having accepted this, I knew my husband would understand. I decided to set aside the issue of children and fully embrace our current happiness. Yet, 3 months into our marriage, our blissful newlywed life began to crumble. Are you going to be late again tonight? Yeah, probably the usual time. Lately, you've been coming home so late. Sometimes you miss the last train and have to take a taxi. What? Are you really complaining when I'm working so hard? No, that's not what I meant. My husband, irritated by my words, slammed the front door shut with a forceful bang. The vibration knocked over a picture frame of us on the entrance shelf. I gently picked it up and set it upright before slowly heading out to work myself. He's right. It's selfish of me to expect him home early when he's working so hard. But I'm not trying to be selfish. I'm just worried because his demeanor has changed so much lately. Hey, isn't today trash day? Isn't it your turn to take it out? Oops, my bad. I'll remember next time. You said that last time and still forgot, right? Is it really a big deal to leave the trash inside for a day or two? Yes, it is. Leaving trash around for days isn't okay. Stop nagging. If it bothers you so much, why don't you do it all yourself? When I brought up the issue with my husband, who was lounging on the sofa engrossed in his phone, he gave me an annoyed look and stormed off to the bedroom. Before we got married, we agreed to share household chores. I know he's not great at it, but he insisted that we need to cooperate despite the challenges. Yet those agreements seemed to crumble just 3 months into our marriage, and slowly, more responsibilities fell on my shoulders. It looks like today, I'll be taking out the trash alone. I had initially planned to handle most of the housework, so that wasn't much of an issue. The real problem was my husband's changing behavior. He used to be so kind before we married. Why did he suddenly change? I didn't want to entertain the thoughts forming in my mind, desperately trying to push him away. 3 months into our marriage, his transformation escalated beyond mere attention-seeking behaviors. Kevin, did you spend our money again without discussing it? I just withdrew my part of the salary. I think we need to save for the future, so spending $2,000 or $4,000 a month is questionable. You earn a good salary, and we don't have kids yet. We could manage without my income, couldn't we? He reclined on the sofa, engrossed in his smartphone. He no longer made eye contact when we spoke at home. It seemed his phone had become his constant companion, not me. Stop staring at your phone all the time and look at me when we're talking. Quit nagging me, you're starting to sound like my mother. My husband, still fixated on his phone screen, brushed past me and retreated to the bedroom. I felt at a loss with a husband who not only stopped contributing financially but also neglected our relationship. He came home late every day, and on weekends he went out alone, leaving me behind. Was he troubled by my higher salary? Was he frustrated by our struggles to conceive? I pondered if I should have been more empathetic toward him instead of taking his words at face value, but soon realized such reflections were futile. A few days later, I found myself at a cafe, invited by a friend. It was a serene day with a clear view stretching into the distance. As I gazed out the window, I witnessed my husband walking hand in hand with a young woman, unfamiliar to me, into an obstetrics and gynecology clinic. Shock coursed through me, causing me to grip my coffee cup so tightly I feared it might shatter. This couldn't be a coincidence. My friend, a nurse at that clinic who knew my husband's face from a photo I had shown her, had discreetly contacted me. Unable to disclose patient information even to family, she had orchestrated this meeting at a cafe overlooking the clinic, subtly prompting me to observe outside. Instinctively, I kept my eyes on the view, anticipating what she had hinted. I wrestled with the urge to confront them inside the clinic, but knew causing a scene there would be inappropriate. Perhaps my husband was innocently accompanying a friend or colleague, so I resolved to wait outside for their exit. After my friend discreetly left, I stood alone for what felt like an eternity, pondering whether my husband was having an affair. Was the woman pregnant, or was this simply a misunderstanding? As the minutes dragged on, my mind raced with anxious thoughts. Finally, when they emerged from the clinic, I gathered my courage and hurriedly approached them. Can you explain why you were at the obstetrics and gynecology clinic? What are you doing here? My husband, usually distant and absorbed in his phone, now stared at me wide-eyed, but I turned my attention to the woman beside him, who appeared visibly uncomfortable. Though nothing was confirmed yet, I steeled myself for the possibility of my husband's infidelity. We can't talk here. Let's go over there. I gestured towards the cafe where I had been with a friend, leading my husband and the woman inside. Even after we settled into the shop, I didn't immediately speak. To steady myself, I ordered the same coffee I had an hour ago. The silence hung heavy, making both my husband and the woman visibly uneasy. They must have felt the weight of my silent scrutiny. I waited until the coffee arrived, taking a sip before breaking the silence. What's going on between you two? Knowing my husband's usual annoyance at my conversations, I skipped the preamble and dove straight into the heart of the matter. At 26, young and charismatic, my husband could easily have found companionship anywhere. I wasn't interested in how or where their affair started. The changes in his behavior had already revealed when it began. I only needed confirmation. My husband faltered, clearly flustered by my direct question. By now, it was evident that the woman beside him was his mistress, the person constantly occupying his attention on his smartphone, explaining his late nights, solo weekends, and financial negligence at home. In my mind, the affair and my husband's behavior formed a seamless narrative. So, you were at the gynecologist's office. Could you be pregnant? My husband squirmed, unable to answer. Frustrated by his silence, my impatience grew, and I drank my coffee faster. Just as I was on the brink of demanding a full confession, it was his mistress who spoke up, not him. You've been caught. There's no running away now. We need to clear things up. But nice to meet you. I'm Katie. Kevin and I are together. The last test wasn't conclusive, but today they confirmed I'm 6 weeks pregnant. Stunned by the sudden admission from the mistress, my hand froze halfway to my coffee cup. Her expression was earnest, as if she saw me as an obstacle to overcome or a final challenge in their relationship with my husband. While her seriousness was evident to me, it felt like a brazen confession. Encouraged by her candor, my husband also found misplaced courage to speak up. We're serious about this. I feel bad for you, but could you consider divorcing us for our sake? Kevin, I appreciate your honesty, but you know this won't be easy, right? Divorce, pregnancy, starting anew, it's a lot to handle. I'll manage as long as I'm with Kevin. As my husband postured like a tragic hero, I felt like an adversary they needed to defeat. I knew he threw himself completely into love, but in marriage, finding someone new required handling things differently. Glancing out the window at the obstetrics clinic, it struck me that age mattered in marriage. It wasn't a commentary on age gap relationships per se, but marrying someone emotionally immature felt risky. With their affair and her pregnancy now out in the open, I would prefer to be the one initiating divorce. Their cavalier attitude, as if they did nothing wrong, infuriated me. I couldn't bear the thought of them triumphing over me and enjoying the happy ending. They needed to understand the gravity of their actions. First, I had to convey my readiness for divorce. It seems you're serious. Let's proceed with the divorce. Really? Thank you. They hugged each other jubilantly, their celebration drawing curious glances. I wished they remembered we were in a public cafe. I felt embarrassed. Good timing with the divorce. Yeah, now we can go on our trip next week without sneaking around. Trip? What trip? It's the perfect time with the pregnancy and divorce settled. We thought we should travel before Katie's belly gets too big. Tonight, I was going to lie and say I had a business trip next week. My grip on the cup loosened, nearly dropping it. Now that I had agreed to divorce, they felt they could openly discuss anything in front of me. They prattled on about their trip and their plans to deceive me. We're getting divorced, right? Shouldn't we discuss some things? Can't you cancel the trip? Well, that's... Really? You want us to cancel? Let us have this trip. I sighed heavily, perhaps the biggest sigh of my life. They were more concerned about their trip than the divorce. Did they even understand why we were divorcing? Because of them. Let's just decide quickly then. What do we need to decide? Well, there's dividing assets and compensation for the affair. I assume the apartment is rented, so one of us has to leave. But I'm not staying. I'll move out. How much is compensation for an affair? Katie, can you look that up? Directed by my husband, his mistress pulled out her phone to search for affair compensation. Such a casual discussion. Despite that, I observed them with a calm demeanor, hoping they would grasp that divorce isn't as straightforward as they believed. The internet says it ranges from $10,000 to $60,000. That much? Can we settle for $10,000? I'm not a legal expert, but that seems low. We can figure out the compensation after the divorce. First, let's discuss the house and money since it impacts our future. Right, you're moving out. Katie and I will stay in the house. I'll leave immediately and move my belongings while you two are on your trip. Next, dividing assets. It's mostly our savings, right? Since our marriage was short, splitting it equally seems fair. Sounds good. Let's do that. Internally, I smiled as my husband agreed exactly as I had hoped, with minimal effort on my part. This was why divorce discussions shouldn't be rushed. To formalize our agreement, I borrowed paper and a pen from the cafe and drafted a simple document. It outlined our decision to divorce due to my husband's affair and the division of our assets. Unaware, my husband signed the document I had carefully prepared. Such a document carried legal weight, so I handled it delicately without folding it. I'll pack my things and head out first. Take care. Thank you for agreeing to the divorce. I smiled at my husband and his mistress before leaving the cafe. Over the next week, while I searched for a new place, I stayed in a hotel. Today, my husband and his mistress were embarking on their trip, and tomorrow, I plan to clear out the old house with movers. Checking my schedule in the hotel, I received a notification about a mail delivery. It was an envelope. What's this? Inside was a completed divorce form. I understood their haste, but sending it during their trip, I sighed, realizing it was better for me to have it first. Got it. I'll handle the divorce and move out tomorrow. Don't worry. I envisioned telling my husband this when they returned. They would surely be shocked and likely call me immediately. 2 nights later, as I relaxed in my hotel room, my ex-husband called. What the hell? Everything's gone from the house. Not everything. I left your clothes and games on the floor. I chuckled, imagining his panicked face. In the background, I could hear his mistress's frantic voice, likely as they checked the emptied house. No wonder they were in a panic. I had stored my belongings from our previous home in a storage unit and sold off everything that clearly belonged to my husband. Anything that didn't sell, I disposed of, including furniture, appliances, and even essential items like shower heads and cooking utensils. The house was now as empty as a vacant property awaiting new occupants. Why did you do this? You need to compensate for this. Why should I? I simply followed our agreement. After the divorce papers were sent, everything was finalized. I divided the property fairly. What do you mean? The furniture and appliances were shared property. We agreed to split them without specifying who gets what, so I sold everything and converted it to cash. Isn't your money on the living room floor under your clothes? I could hear her hurried footsteps over the phone as my ex-husband rushed to the living room, then a thud as he knelt down, followed by a faint murmur. Wait, $600 and some change. That's all from selling everything in the house. Yes, that's correct. Remember, some appliances were brought from our respective homes when we moved in together, so most items didn't fetch a high price. Some even cost money to dispose of. Many smaller items were unsellable and had to be thrown away. The sound of coins dropping indicated his shock. Even I felt that the total of $1,200 was a bit low, but I hadn't aimed for a high profit. My goal was to strip my ex-husband of everything essential and give him as little money as possible, hence why I opted for a recycling shop without much consideration. How am I supposed to live in a place like this? It's empty as if no one's ever moved in. That's not my concern. We agreed to split the assets after the divorce. The document you signed says so. Any complaints? He fell silent, unable to retort. Regretting the haste of our divorce discussions was futile at this point. And we hadn't even settled everything yet. Save your regrets for after everything is settled. You might have forgotten with the trip and the house, but we haven't agreed on the compensation for the affair. You're right. We haven't settled on the compensation yet. Please keep it low. I spent a lot on the wedding and starting our life together. I'm almost broke now. I'd even used my savings for the trip. I have about $6,000 left. I understand you wanted to make an impression, but overspending wasn't wise. Unfortunately, I'll be asking for $50,000 in compensation for the affair. What? $50,000? Our marriage was short, but we're divorcing because of your affair, and she's pregnant. I suppose it's fair. If you disagree, should I consult a lawyer? He fell silent again. Facing the sudden financial burden in his now empty house must have been overwhelming. Without furniture or appliances, living comfortably was impossible. But with little money left and being only 26 years old, my ex-husband now faced the challenge of paying a substantial amount in compensation. The prospect of furnishing his home with new items was distant. However, as his ex-wife, his lifestyle was no longer my concern. I'll contact you later regarding the compensation. After explaining to my ex-husband why the house was so bare, I hung up. Though I couldn't see his face, this should make him realize the gravity of treating affairs and divorce lightly. Eventually, he agreed to pay $50,000 in compensation for the affair. Consulting a lawyer, I learned I could have asked for more. However, considering his youth and near empty pockets, $50,000 would have a significant impact. My aim wasn't money. That amount felt right to settle upon. The young couple, my ex-husband and his mistress, had hoped to start fresh together, but their plans fell apart. With little savings, she a part-timer, and he left with only about $6,000. They face a bleak reality. After emptying the house, they resorted to using cardboard boxes as makeshift tables and cooked on a portable stove, living in dismal conditions. Within a week, she reportedly left, leaving my ex-husband to face the certainty of child support payments alone. His financial responsibilities grew despite divorcing me to marry his mistress, a plan that crumbled before it began. His troubles extended beyond personal life. He had publicly announced his divorce and plans to marry his mistress on social media during their trip. leading to inquiries at his workplace. While he dodged specifics, rumors about the affair, pregnancy, compensation, and child support spread. The fallout tarnished his reputation, forcing him to resign from his job. Now burdened with paying affair compensation, child support, and securing basic living expenses, he urgently needs to find new employment. Reflecting on this experience, I've come to understand the complexities of love and relationships. While passion and honesty are valued in love, my ex-husband's choices and current circumstances highlight the consequences of rash decisions. From this ordeal, I've learned that not everyone is cut out for love, including perhaps both my ex-husband and myself. In today's world, happiness can take various forms beyond traditional notions of love and marriage. For now, I find contentment in my work, focusing on it diligently day by day. You can ski back home by yourself from here with that big belly of yours. 3 hours should be more than enough to make it back, said the man who was once supposed to be my partner for life. My husband, as he callously tossed aside his skis, laughing loudly. Shocked by his words, my mother-in-law added with an even more sarcastic smile than usual, peering at me from the front passenger seat to where I sat in the back. Let me give you some advice from someone who's lived a bit longer. Even pregnant women need exercise for an easier delivery. We were near a ski resort, a place about a 2-hour drive from our city. The whole area was a glittering silver world. Were they really planning to leave me here, 7 months pregnant? Or were they expecting me to beg for forgiveness and tearfully ask for their help? Very well, but I'll walk back. I won't be needing the skis, so please put them back in the car, I said calmly as I exited the vehicle. With my unborn baby and myself, I chose to walk, prioritizing our safety over the unpredictable risks of traveling with them. As fate would have it, misfortune soon caught up with my husband and mother-in-law. 30 minutes after parting ways, my husband's frantic cries began. It was their cries of distress facing an unexpected ordeal, but their tragedy was only the beginning. The truth gradually surfaced, leaving them no escape, and they found themselves spiraling towards a reckoning. My name is Sarah. I work as a surgical nurse at a general hospital during the week and enjoy playing tennis on my days off. As a surgical nurse, I assist during surgeries by passing instruments to doctors, monitoring the procedure's progress, and ensuring everything runs smoothly. It's mentally and physically demanding work, but knowing I'm helping to save lives makes it incredibly rewarding. To maintain my balance, both physically and mentally, I find solace in tennis, where I met my husband, John. He's a gentle soul, always with a kind smile, working in the welfare department. That smile softened the otherwise stoic atmosphere of our office. His calm presence brought me peace, and before I knew it, his warmth became my comfort. Our relationship blossomed effortlessly, leading to marriage a year after we met, and soon we joyfully anticipated the arrival of our child. Currently 7 months pregnant, I took a break from work, enjoying a relaxed life. It was supposed to be a time filled with happiness, but reality. Mom, what do I do? I got scolded by my boss at work again. How many times is this now? What should I do? This had become my husband's daily routine after work, calling his mother first. It became evident he was excessively reliant on his mother, needing her reassurance for every daily event to feel at ease. He couldn't settle without her voice, unable to make decisions independently, often sidelining my opinions for hers. Our time together was overshadowed by talks of his mother. On nights I had shifts, he stayed at his parents' house. Hearing Mom every day was driving me insane. Yes, he was a devoted mama's boy. Yet my husband had a deep sense of care for others, never speaking harshly to me, and was especially kind to the elderly. His gentle nature was admired by everyone around us. I respected him deeply for this. His kindness attracted me, and while I couldn't deny his attachment to his mother, I believed it was something I could learn from. It was his way of showing compassion, so I turned a blind eye to his and his mother's relationship. However, our peaceful life began to crumble over a seemingly trivial incident. Huh? The button on your dress shirt is still missing. One day, my husband noticed a button missing from his work shirt and immediately panicked, reaching for his phone to call his mother. But I assured him, I'll fix it, don't worry, hoping to defuse the situation. That night, tired from pregnancy, I decided to rest without reattaching the button, and the moment passed. The next morning, noticing the button still missing, my husband seemed to panic, instinctively reaching for his phone once more. See, I should have asked Mom to take care of it. What should I do now? I need to tell her quickly, he said, holding his phone and pacing back and forth, which made me uneasy. Still, I tried to reassure him. I'm sorry about yesterday. I was feeling too sick to do it, but you have other dress shirts, right? He stopped abruptly and looked at me with frustration. What are you saying? I had already decided with Mom to wear this shirt yesterday. Now I can't wear what Mom picked out for me. It turned out even his daily outfits were decided by his mother. I felt a mix of fear and revulsion at his behavior. Are you serious? How much of his life is controlled by his mother? Mom, what should I do? Mom, help me. I don't know what to do. My husband hurriedly called his mother, speaking in a hushed voice. Though I couldn't hear everything, I was certain he was complaining about me. Not touching the button. In my husband's eyes, if it wasn't as his mother directed, he couldn't proceed confidently, leaving me feeling less like a significant partner and more like a mere observer in his life. His mother was his primary partner. The realization was both disheartening and unsettling. Lately, I've been struggling with mood swings, attributing it to prenatal blues. But this time, I couldn't contain my emotions. Despite trying repeatedly to calm myself down, it felt like a dam bursting within me. Enough. It's unnerving, always relying on Mom. You're an adult, think for yourself. You're about to be a father, stop depending on your parents for everything. My outburst left my husband stunned. Sarah, what are you saying? What's wrong with asking Mom? It's what I've always done. Why are you suddenly upset about it? His slow, unchanged tone as he approached me only fueled my frustration. Stop seeking Mom's opinion over a shirt. Think for yourself. I've tolerated it until now, but I've reached my limit. Be a responsible father. Give me space. It's unsettling. This marked our first significant argument as a couple. I knew I shouldn't have said those words, but I couldn't suppress my feelings any longer. Afterward, my husband left wearing the shirt with the missing button, without saying another word. Was this really okay? I must have hurt him. Should I have just endured it? My emotions swirled throughout the day, leaving me conflicted and unsure. Since then, my husband began avoiding me blatantly, coming home later each day. He often stopped by his parents' house for dinner, spending considerable time with his mother before returning. But that wasn't all. He continued talking to her on the phone until bedtime, maintaining a constant connection. I tried to apologize, thinking I might have gone too far, but he wouldn't listen or meet my eyes. Despite living under the same roof, I felt utterly invisible. Mom, she's giving me that look again. She seems particularly irritable today. My complaints didn't cease, and the lively conversations I heard through the door only heightened my sense of helplessness and isolation. How long would this situation persist? For the sake of our unborn child, I want to return to the days when things were simpler. One day, I decided to wait for my husband to come home so we could have a proper conversation. However, when the front door opened that night, it wasn't my husband but my mother-in-law, wearing a look of fury. Enough with you. Why do you keep picking on John every day? What joy do you get from tormenting that kind soul? He can't even stand up to you and comes home crying every night. You demon wife, you devil. Suddenly, she burst into the house, her eyes filled with madness, and began yelling at me. I felt paralyzed with fear, unable to move. When did I ever bully my husband? Using your pregnancy as an excuse not to cook dinner, lazing around every day. Who do you think you are? John works hard every day for you, and you just sit back and relax, you lazy woman. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. Why was I being painted as the villain? My mind raced in panic, but I couldn't find the words to respond. Tears overflowed as I stood there trembling, unable even to say, "You've misunderstood." My tears only seemed to anger my mother-in-law more. Why are you crying? John should be the one crying. Or do you think crying will solve everything, you coward, you wicked wife? Marrying you was a mistake. She continued to berate me relentlessly, leaving me feeling utterly helpless. I could only look down, covering my ears, and barely managed to whisper, "I'm sorry," as my mother-in-law seemed ready to pounce on me. I knew everything she was saying was untrue, and I had no reason to apologize, but saying those words was the only way I could think of to escape the situation as quickly as possible. As expected, my mother-in-law, seeming triumphant, puffed out her chest and delivered her final words with arms crossed. "Good, you understand, you foolish wife. If you ever bother John again, you know it won't end well." After she left, glaring at me until the last moment, the storm passed, and the silent room was filled only with the sound of my own heartbeat. John's dependency on his mother escalated, and soon he started spending all his time at their house, except for weekends. Even when he came home on weekends, it was only to gather clothes and necessities, barely staying for an hour. During those times, we hardly spoke. One Saturday morning, as I began to question the point of staying together under these circumstances, my husband suddenly appeared at the door. "Sarah, I've come to pick you up. Let's go on a trip right now," he called out. Confused, I walked toward the entrance. "Lately, things haven't been great between us. It seems like you've reflected on it, so I'm willing to forgive you. It's not good for the baby in your belly if we keep up this atmosphere. Let's start fresh and go skiing." His words, accompanied by a smile reminiscent of old times, took me by surprise. "What's skiing? You've never skied before, have you? And with my belly almost 9 months along, I can't possibly ski." I was flustered by his unexpected suggestion. While I appreciated his effort to break the ice between us, "Why skiing?" I questioned. Ignoring my reluctance, my husband insisted, "There's a ski resort about 2 hours away by car. A senior at work recommended it. It's easy to get to, and there's even a beginner's course where pregnant Sarah can safely ski. Everything's prepared. You don't have to worry about a thing. Let's go," he said, grabbing my coat, gently pulling me by the hand, and leading me to the car parked outside. With a mix of hope in my husband's intentions for our unborn child and suspicion about the skiing trip, I found myself seated in the back of the car as we set off. Our next stop was his parents' house. My mother-in-law greeted us, fully prepared and smiling. Was she joining us on our couple's trip, or did she have another plan? As they chatted away, oblivious to my confusion, my mother-in-law climbed into the car, turned to me with a smile, and said, "Sarah, glad you could join us. Let's enjoy skiing together." Was this some kind of trap? The car started moving again. It would be John's first time driving in the snow. Could he handle it? My anxiety grew. "We'll be arriving soon. Let's stop around here," John said, abruptly pulling over. We were near a ski resort on a snowy mountain road, surrounded by a pristine, glistening world. The weather was clear, and the snow sparkled like jewels in the sunlight. But instead of calming me, the beauty of the scene heightened my anxiety. "Are we getting out here? Isn't the ski resort further ahead?" I was utterly bewildered, unable to comprehend why I was being left in such a remote spot. "This feels like harassment, and I'm carrying a precious life," I thought to myself. Then my mother-in-law, her demeanor suddenly changing, turned to me with a sinister smile. "You know, despite my scolding, you haven't shown any signs of improvement. Instead, you've only gotten worse. Despite telling you not to torment John, you continue to make him miserable and sad. Do you find that amusing?" I couldn't grasp what she meant. What had I done to my husband? "You're always getting agitated. Maybe a place like this will help you cool off," she said, laughing ominously. "Besides, you've been using your pregnancy as an excuse to laze around at home, haven't you? Let me give you some advice from someone with more life experience. Pregnant women need exercise for an easier delivery," she added, her unsettling laughter filling the car. My husband joined in, echoing my mother-in-law's attack. "You can ski back home alone from here with that big belly of yours? 3 hours should be more than enough for you to get back. What did they expect from me? Did they think that if I apologized and begged, their demands would be satisfied, or were they seriously planning to abandon me and the life growing inside me?" Regardless of their intentions, their actions were unforgivable. My priority was to protect the child in my belly. Moreover, the car wouldn't be able to continue much farther on the increasingly snowy and icy road. "Fine, but it's too dangerous for me to ski in my condition. I'll walk back. Please put the skis back in the car," I said calmly. With that, I quietly exited the car and turned away from them, intending to find my way to a more populated area while the sun was still up. Glancing back, I saw my husband placing the skis back where I had been sitting. This would likely be our final moment together. Silently retracing my steps, I walked alone along the snowy roadside. Suddenly, the clear weather shifted, and snow began to fall. The sky darkened swiftly with heavy snow clouds, unleashing a blizzard that quickly intensified. I could no longer see ahead. The swirling snow obscured everything, and I lost track of where I was heading. Overwhelmed by fear and the biting cold, my legs grew weak. I might not make it, I thought, just as my consciousness started to fade. Then a bright light slowly approached from behind me. It was a car. The vehicle stopped beside me, and a concerned man leaned out, peering at me. Luckily, my red dress made me stand out against the gray landscape. The man, sensing something amiss with a pregnant woman walking alone on a snowy road, called out to me. Beside him sat a woman. They were a couple returning from a skiing trip. Without questioning why I was alone in the blizzard, they quickly ushered me into the back seat of their car. The woman offered me a blanket and warm tea, understanding my situation well. They drove me home without asking for explanations, saving me with their kindness. Upon arriving, I repeatedly tried to express my gratitude, but they simply wished me a healthy baby and departed without seeking anything in return. The town felt remarkably serene after the chaos of the snowy road. Under the warm sun, I watched their car vanish from sight before heading indoors. Meanwhile, my husband and mother-in-law, who had left me on that snowy road, seemed to have encountered serious trouble. Unaware of their predicament, I had been asleep in the cozy car, oblivious to the flurry of missed calls on my phone. When I finally checked my phone, I was stunned to see a long series of missed calls spanning over 30 minutes. What could have happened? Just as I stared at my phone, another call came in from my husband. "Hello," I answered tentatively, only to be met with his panicked, almost ear-splitting scream. "Sarah, why didn't you answer? What have you been doing? Please come back quickly. It's serious." Mom, how selfish can he be, leaving me behind like that? And now he wants me to come back. I muttered in disbelief, unable to find the right words. He continued to speak frantically on the other end. It appeared they had been in a severe accident after abandoning me on the mountain road. They had driven up the opposite slope. The weather was clear, and visibility was good, so they likely intended to reach the ski resort. The mountain weather abruptly turned hostile, engulfing them in a fierce blizzard. My husband, inexperienced in driving under such conditions, struggled against the strong winds. Unable to navigate a curve on an icy road, the car spun 180 degrees and careened downhill, eventually becoming stuck in deep snow off the side. My mother-in-law stepped out to inspect the front wheel, circling around to the front. Meanwhile, my husband, fixated on freeing the snow-covered wheel, unintentionally pressed the accelerator too hard. The car lurched forward suddenly, and in a panic upon seeing his mother ahead, he slammed the brakes, but it was too late. The icy road compounded the car's momentum, and in an instant, my mother-in-law was trapped beneath it. The car slid several meters before halting. When my husband reached her, she had lost consciousness. Trembling, he managed to call an ambulance, but the blizzard delayed its arrival. "The ambulance still hasn't come. Where are they driving? You're a nurse, right? Hurry back and help Mom. She won't make it if this continues." My husband's voice cracked with desperation. "Oh, really? I thought you were concerned about me walking alone in the blizzard. But it's all about Mom again, isn't it? Even if you beg me to return, I'm already home. Deal with it yourself," I retorted, incredulous at his audacity. His demand only fueled my anger. His voice rose. "Why are you laughing? My mother's life is on the line. Have you no compassion? Turn those words back on yourself. If life is so precious, you shouldn't have left a pregnant woman stranded on a snowy mountain. And it's foolish for someone like you, who can't handle driving, to attempt such a road without snow tires. Did that not occur to you? It's no surprise you lost control," I shot back, my words hanging heavy in the tense air, silencing him momentarily. "Snow tires? Mom never mentioned anything about that. How was I supposed to know?" My husband's admission of ignorance was astounding, given the recklessness of attempting to drive up a snowy mountain without such basic knowledge. "It was all Mom's plan. I just followed it," he added defensively. The realization dawned on me that perhaps my mother-in-law's obsession with tormenting me had blinded her to the risks, or worse, she truly didn't understand the dangers of snowy mountain roads. At that moment, I had no patience left for such incompetence from my husband. "As a nurse, I assist in surgeries, but I'm not a doctor. I can't handle serious injuries or medical emergencies. All I can advise is to stay calm and wait for the ambulance," I stated firmly, ending the call abruptly. Days later, I was already set on leaving my husband and starting anew with my child. Most of my belongings were packed, ready to move back in with my parents after the birth. When I returned home for a final check, exhausted and emotionally drained, I found my husband sitting on the sofa. His demeanor changed upon seeing me, erupting in fury. "Why didn't you save Mom? Because of you, she's in the hospital, paralyzed and struggling. She may never recover fully. You've ruined her life." His accusations echoed through the room, but I was no longer the trembling figure from that fateful day. I have a life to protect, I responded calmly, meeting his rage with unwavering resolve. If you value mom's life so much, then think for yourself. Basic precautions like snow tires in the mountains shouldn't need mentioning. And who accelerates when someone's in front? You both underestimated the mountain. My husband's face flushed with anger. Shut up. This isn't my fault. Look at my back. Your ski pole nearly killed me. He pulled up his sweater to reveal a deep scar just below his neck. That happened because you didn't secure the skis properly. This accident could have been avoided, I retorted sharply. It's your mother's fault for ignoring the dangers, I continued, my voice steady as I handed him the divorce papers. I'm done. I have a child to protect, and I won't subject them to this neglect. From now on, you can spend your life taking care of your precious mom and enjoy living just the two of you. I'll move forward with the child in my belly. Let's end this here, I calmly stated as I handed him the divorce papers. My husband snatched them and threw them away, overwhelmed by his mother's paralysis, our impending divorce, his own injuries, and other mounting issues. His reaction seemed more driven by panic than reason. He continued to ramble incoherently, blaming me and avoiding reality, making meaningful conversation impossible, I recounted, turning towards the door. There was no reason to prolong my stay in that house any longer. Suddenly, the door burst open, and two unfamiliar men in suits entered with a stern demeanor. They strode past me without a word and confronted my husband, demanding repayment of interest and principal owed to them. My husband was paralyzed with fear, unable to move. What is this about? I heard him stammer. Apparently, my mother-in-law had been entangled with a dubious religious group, making substantial donations beyond what her pension could cover. This had started before our marriage, driven by her jealousy and desire to drive me away. She was easily influenced at a meeting and became a devoted follower, spending on expensive charms, pots, and supposed miracle water, chanting daily, and attending the facility religiously. Her hefty donations were spurred by the leader's persuasive words, not a meticulous plan to harm me. Realizing the depth of her disdain for me was chilling. She had accrued significant debts to support her fervent religious activities, unbeknownst to my husband. With her now paralyzed and reportedly living in a care facility, debt collectors, unable to pursue her directly, had turned their attention to my husband. I don't have the money right now, my husband admitted, sweat beading on his forehead. The men noticed me and inquired if I was his wife, but at that moment, I no longer felt any connection to him or his mother. No, I'm just a stranger, I replied calmly, collecting my belongings and walking away without looking back. I heard my husband's cries behind me, but they were no longer my concern. And so, I headed to my parents' house. Months passed, and spring arrived. Through our lawyers, we finalized our divorce, and my ex-husband was ordered to pay alimony. Despite his struggles with his mother's debts and the added burden of alimony, his treatment towards me was unjustifiable. Regardless of his hardships, I was entitled to financial support. His other source of distress was his mother's paralysis, requiring his constant care. She showed no appreciation, instead blaming him for her condition and persisting in her religious pursuits from the facility. However, her disruptive behavior led to multiple evictions, forcing moves to different locations. Amidst my ex-husband's ongoing struggles with his mother's turbulent situation, he pleaded with her to cease, resulting in ceaseless disputes. In contrast, I have embraced the difficulties of motherhood with the blessing of my parents and am relishing serene days cradling my cherished, healthy daughter. The couple who rescued me on that snowy mountain remain etched in my memory. Were it not for their timely intervention, I might not have this life today. Though their names elude me, I hope to express my gratitude someday, conveying how their compassion directly contributed to the birth of my beloved child. My name is Amy Johnson. I used to live with my husband Michael and our 5-year-old daughter. One day, I decided to treat my mom to a fancy sushi restaurant, something we hadn't done in ages. Our daughter was having a sleepover at a friend's house, so it seemed like the perfect opportunity for a quiet evening out. As we savored the luxurious sushi, a familiar voice caught my attention from the private room next door. Nothing beats this expensive sushi, Michael. You must be relieved to taste something decent for a change. Absolutely. After Amy's cooking, this is a welcome treat. Thanks for this, Mom. I froze, exchanging a glance with my mom as we discreetly peered into the adjoining room. To my disbelief, there sat my mother-in-law and Michael, indulging in the priciest items on the menu with an air of entitlement. "It's Michael and your mom?" "Yes, and to gossip about me like that behind my back is just plain rude." "They've always had their criticisms, even when I'm right there," I sighed with a smile. Michael, 3 years my senior, held a prominent position in a large corporation. When we married, I willingly left my job to be a full-time homemaker, fulfilling both his and his mother's expectations. From the start, my mother-in-law pushed for grandchildren, and thankfully, conception came swiftly, confirming my pregnancy just 2 months after we started trying. Initially, my mother-in-law was thrilled about my pregnancy, but her mood soared drastically upon learning we were expecting a girl. "A girl? What were you thinking?" "I wanted a boy, and hair. But we can't control the gender, and girls are just as wonderful. Cute for now, but they grow up, marry, and leave. They're of no use to us. Next time, make sure it's a boy." My husband echoed her disappointment. "Mom really wanted a boy. Having a girl means more expenses. That's our child you're talking about." "Enough. You're such a disappointment." Michael changed after we married. He used to be strong, protective, and decisive while we were dating, but marriage seemed to transform him into a puppet under his mother's control, joining her in criticizing me. This behavior worsened after our daughter was born. Our marriage deteriorated, and Michael began spending less time at home. Our young daughter noticed the tension between us. Unaware of my presence, my mother-in-law and Michael continued their disparaging remarks, accompanied by the sound of their eating, which soured the sushi for me. Their conversation took a more ominous turn. "How's Kate? Is the baby healthy?" "Everything's fine. I can't wait to meet my son." "That's wonderful. Unlike some, she managed to conceive a boy on the first try. Maybe because she's younger." "Could be. Young women are the best." "I'm excited about our new life together with our son next year. We're looking forward to the new house." "I wonder how Amy will react when she finds out Michael has a son. She'll be devastated. But no matter what she says, I choose Kate." As their conversation unfolded, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I had sensed their growing indifference toward me, but discovering their infidelity and plans for a new life together with a child was beyond anything I had imagined. My mind went blank, and it was my mom who gently held my trembling hand. "Those two. They're unforgivable," she whispered, glaring sharply at the closed door of the private room. "The audacity to plan taking over our new home," I murmured, my voice trembling with a mix of shock and anger. We had been preparing to move into our new home once our daughters started school. The land was a family discount from my father, who works in real estate, and he also secured a deal with a construction company to build it affordably, I explained, trying to steady my emotions. It seemed my husband and his mother had other plans, to live there with his mistress. "Lucky for us, we got the house at such a good price thanks to her father," my mother added bitterly. "Living in a new house with a young lover, they think it's the height of happiness." "And don't forget me," my mother-in-law chimed in. "I know, Mom. I'll give you Amy's room. It has great sunlight. You'll love it." "I can't wait to see my grandson," she continued with a hint of anticipation. "A child with Kate will surely be something," my husband joined in. Overwhelmed, I couldn't bear to listen any longer. We quietly left the restaurant, my appetite lost and my heart shattered. It turned out my mom had discreetly recorded their conversation, perhaps as evidence. Instead of returning home, I sought solace at my parents' house with her comforting presence, where I finally let myself break down in tears. "It must have been tough for you, Mom." "Why are you apologizing, Amy? The ones at fault are Michael and his people who betrayed you. I can't forgive them for causing my precious daughter so much pain." "I'm sorry, Mom. I might not be able to stay with Michael," I said quietly. My mom gently stroked my head with a kind smile. "That's okay. I was worried about what would happen if you wanted to continue with him. If things stayed the same, Michael might try to divorce you in a way that disadvantages you, maybe even demand alimony." "But I didn't cheat," I protested. "Now that you know about his betrayal, you can take control." "Don't worry, I'm here with you," she reassured me with a smile. My mom has always been dependable. She was assertive when I faced harassment at school. I've admired her since I was young, so I decided to proceed with the divorce on my terms and hired a detective agency to investigate my unfaithful husband. He thought I was completely unaware, openly cheating without concern. I decided to gather evidence myself by placing a voice recorder in his car. Every Saturday, he claimed he was meeting colleagues, but I suspected he was seeing his mistress. Gathering evidence was surprisingly easy. Listening to the recordings, I realized just how much he looked down on me. Are you sure your wife isn't suspicious about us meeting every week? Don't worry, she believes everything I say. I'm confident I can manipulate her about alimony and child support. I don't want to give her a penny. Yeah, that makes sense. We have our future to think about. The old hag can just drop dead for all I care. You really say some terrible things. But Michael, you always say that too. I should have never married that awful woman. Why did you marry her in the first place? I saw her photo, and honestly, she's not even pretty. I must have been out of my mind back then. If I'd met you earlier, I wouldn't have given a woman like that a second glance. I'm so happy. I love you, Michael. I love you more than anything in the world. Soon after, they probably got intimate in the car. The explicit sounds were unbearable, so I stopped the recording. Listening to this, my sadness vanished, replaced by pure anger. They completely disrespected me, but I had no intention of letting them have their way. I continued gathering evidence with my parents' help. With additional proof from the detective agency, I was ready to confront my husband about a divorce. I told Michael and my mother-in-law that we needed to discuss something important and called a meeting. My parents offered to come with me, but I decided to handle it alone. This was my battle, and I wanted to resolve it myself. When they arrived, they looked annoyed. What's this important talk about? We're not free to attend to your whims. Yeah, you're interrupting our day off. I had plans for a lunch date with friends. I'm sorry, I really needed to talk to you. So what is it? Make it quick. With a serious expression, I handed Michael the divorce papers. My name was already filled in. For a moment, they were speechless. What's this about? Why are you bringing up divorce? I can't continue with you anymore. Please divorce me. Upon hearing this, my mother-in-law burst into laughter, soon joined by my husband. What are you talking about? Divorce me out of the blue? You know you can't live without me. Exactly. Know your place. It's ridiculous for you to suggest divorce. It doesn't matter who initiates it, does it? And how do you plan to live without Michael? You're just a housewife, and he's been supporting you. Planning to be homeless with your daughter? A homeless mother and daughter, that would be quite a sight. They mockingly laughed at me and my daughter. Despite their taunts, I remained composed. I informed my husband, I will be demanding alimony from Michael, as well as child support. What? Why should I pay alimony? Don't you understand what alimony means? This is why I can't stand uneducated people. I know what alimony means. I'm not ignorant. So, how do you plan to get alimony from me? Explain. Michael, you're having an affair with a woman named Kate, right? And she's pregnant with your child. Mentioning her name caught them off guard. They didn't expect me to know about the affair, but they weren't about to give in easily. What? You knew about Kate. You admit to the affair. Yeah, I admit it, but it's your fault. You got cheated on. Why blame me? Then my mother-in-law chimed in. It's because you only had a girl. You didn't try hard enough for a second child. If you just had a healthy boy, Michael wouldn't have left you. It's not that I didn't try. I couldn't. After our daughter was born, Michael didn't help with childcare or housework. How could I consider another child under those circumstances, especially as a first-time mom? What nonsense is this? Talking about childcare and housework. That's a woman's job. You're wrong to rely on a man like Michael. Maybe that attitude is why he got fed up with you. Hearing my mother-in-law defend her son, who cheated and got someone else pregnant, left me more astonished than angry. I couldn't believe I had tolerated such unreasonable people for so long. My husband continued to criticize me. You gave up being a woman after marriage. You stopped wearing makeup and aged quickly after childbirth. Who would want another child with an old hack? It's your fault for losing your charm. True, after childbirth, I didn't focus much on makeup or hairstyles, but I maintained basic grooming. Many women gain weight after childbirth, but I was careful not to. However, my husband, caught up with his young mistress, never noticed my efforts. Continuing to mock me, I made a request. Can you bring Kate here? I'd like to meet her. What? Why? She knew you were married and still had an affair, right? She also has a responsibility. I want to talk to her. Meeting Kate will only hurt you more, you know. Why would that be? Well, Kate is young and has a great figure, unlike you. Plus, she's carrying a boy, something you couldn't give me. You might just lose it out of jealousy. I don't care about that. Just call her, please. As I spoke coldly, my husband seemed displeased that I didn't react as expected. He clicked his tongue in annoyance. Then, glancing at me intermittently, he started calling his mistress, deliberately putting the phone on speaker so I could hear their conversation. Hey, what's up? Are you coming over today? I need to apologize to Kate about something. What? What's going on? I'm scared. My wife found out about us. I want you to come over. Over? Is that okay? Meeting your wife? That's scary. It's fine. I love you, Kate, and I'll protect you. If that's the case, I'm relieved. I've wanted to meet her too, so sure. Kate's voice sounded naive, and hearing her talk irritated me. As you heard, she'll be coming over. Don't you dare lay a hand on her. Don't worry, I won't stoop to violence. About 30 minutes later, Kate arrived at our house, dressed inappropriately for the situation in a shoulder-bearing shirt and a miniskirt. She was a 25-year-old temp worker at my husband's company. We invited her in to continue the discussion. Despite my presence, my husband and his mistress began to flirt with each other. Kate is young and attractive, unlike someone else here. Even pregnant, she takes care of her appearance. Hey, don't say that. You'll make your wife angry. Oh, I guess she's not your wife anymore. Sorry for taking your husband. Kate smirked at me, clearly looking down on me. Then my mother-in-law compared us. Kate is young and beautiful, unlike Amy. Plus, she's giving us the boy we always wanted. She's feminine and charming, unlike someone else here. I really like her. I'm so happy to hear that from you. I like you too. They flaunted their relationship, trying to show off, but I wasn't affected by their display. I turned to my husband and Kate and resumed the conversation. I'm sure you're aware, but I'll be seeking alimony from both of you. Alimony? You're still on about that. Did you think you could just manipulate me to avoid paying? Hey, wife, you're scary. As I pressed them, Kate dramatically clung to my husband, who soothingly stroked her head. It's okay. I'll protect you, Kate. Hearing such a cheesy line made my skin crawl. How did I ever fall in love with this man? I couldn't understand why I married him in the first place. You do realize that if a married person commits adultery, they're obliged to pay alimony, right? Kate knew you were married and still got involved, correct? I have the right to demand alimony from both of you. Sure, we're together, but do you have any physical evidence? You think I don't have anything? I have all the evidence I need. I laid out the investigation report from the detective agency and photos of their affair on the table. I also played the recordings from the car and the conversation my mother had recorded at the sushi restaurant. My husband and mother-in-law were speechless, their eyes wide. How about that? I can do this much. You were at the sushi restaurant. Yes, I was at the next table. I heard familiar voices and was surprised to see you and your mother there, talking so loudly. Seriously? No way. My husband seemed visibly shaken by this revelation. My mother-in-law, too, was speechless, probably trying to think of a way to escape paying alimony. Then Kate spoke up, seemingly oblivious to the seriousness of the situation. Even if we have to pay alimony, we have the new house, so it's no big deal. If we run out of money, we can just sell it. It's quite a mansion, after all. Her smug attitude was irritating. I decided to enlighten her about the truth. You seem to be making plans for that house, but I won't let you have it. What are you talking about? My husband retorted. I'm the one who paid for that house, didn't I? You didn't pay anything, and now you want to take over. Have you forgotten under whose name the house was built? His face turned pale as he remembered the truth about the house's ownership. However, Kate, still clueless, thought she had the upper hand. I know you were looking forward to the new house, but please give up. It's going to be my home now. There's no place for you there. Maybe you can stay in a doghouse or something. Kate laughed, but my husband was clearly panicking. Why are you so pale all of a sudden? Well, actually, that house was built under Amy's father's name. What does that mean? It means it won't belong to us. What? So we get nothing? Right, you both will only have the alimony to pay. And Michael, you'll also pay child support for our daughter. As I informed them, my husband suddenly stood up, begging. Please, I intend to pay the alimony, but can we keep it reasonable? Professionals will determine the amount. I'll claim as much as I can. It seemed my ex-husband had been spending a considerable amount on his mistress. He always wore expensive items and probably lavished her with high-end gifts and extravagant dates. Despite his higher salary, his expenses far exceeded his income. He didn't even have savings left. Realizing this, the mistress stood up, shocked and furious. Wait a minute. If you have no money, there's no point in marrying you. You've wasted my time. What are you talking about? That's my line. I chose you because you seemed well off. If you don't have money and we can't have the mansion, there's no reason to marry. I'm calling off the engagement. Are you serious? I had anticipated this turn of events. Having learned a fact about her from the detective's investigation, I decided to reveal it to my husband, who sat shocked and distraught. You know, Kate's been involved with 3 other men besides you, Michael. She chose you because you seemed the most financially stable. As I confronted her, she sighed heavily, revealing her true intentions. Yes, that's right. I chose you because you seemed like the best target. I intended to keep seeing other men even after marrying you. Are you kidding me? I thought you loved me. I did like your lavish lifestyle, but let's face it, you're a 38-year-old man, and you have a strong old man smell. You're not exactly the handsome older type. I never saw you that way, but when I showed a bit of interest, you fell for it easily. I figured I might as well take advantage of you. What? What does that mean? Hearing her true nature, my husband looked utterly betrayed, tears streaming down his face. Then my mother-in-law spoke up. But the child in your belly is Michael's, right? You'll give us the son, won't you? Honestly, I'm not sure if the child is Michael's. My intuition tells me it's more likely Kyle's. But of course, we won't know until we check. Is that true? Well, I have nothing more to say, so I'll be leaving now. With that, the mistress abruptly ended the conversation and left. My husband remained, crying with his head in his hands. After he stopped crying, he turned to me with red eyes and pleaded. I was deceived by her. Can we just forget about the divorce? I promise I won't betray you again. Now you say this, you never cared about me or our daughter. You're just scared of being alone. Sorry, but I have no intention of remarrying you. After firmly rejecting him, he started crying again, his emotions out of control after being discarded by his mistress. Then my mother-in-law interjected. He's willing to try again. Just go along with it. You're better off with Michael's income, aren't you? If you divorce now, remarrying will be difficult. Just drop this divorce nonsense. You both betrayed me first. I'm fed up with a cheating husband and a malicious mother-in-law. I'm tired of dealing with you. Let's handle the rest through lawyers. I'm going back to my parents' house. Wait, just wait a minute. My mother-in-law called out, but I shook off her hand and left. Wait, I want to live with you and our daughter. My husband pleaded, grabbing my leg, his face tear-streaked and distraught. I couldn't bear to look at his pitiful state. Goodbye. Enjoy your time with your mother, I said, leaving the house I had lived in for so long. With the help of a lawyer, the divorce was finalized. I claimed a lump sum in alimony from my husband and his mistress. Of course, I also demanded child support from my husband for our daughter, arranged as a fixed amount paid monthly. The mistress, having no money, had her parents pay the alimony. She was severely scolded by them and returned home after giving birth, living under their watchful eyes. Though she was as she was, her parents seemed decent. Knowing the child wasn't suffering brought me relief. My ex-husband continued to work, unable to quit due to his debts from the alimony payments. His affair with the temp worker naturally became known at work, leading to him being regarded coldly by his colleagues. He started making frequent mistakes and his salary was nearly reduced by about $1,800. Moreover, for some reason, he blamed my mother-in-law for our divorce and severed ties with her. Since my mother-in-law had been receiving about $1,800 in support from my ex-husband each month, she faced financial difficulties once this support stopped. She had to start working part-time as her pension wasn't enough. As for me, I moved into the newly completed house with my parents. My daughter was overjoyed to live with her beloved grandparents. While raising my daughter, I began helping with my father's business. Now, I am living a stress-free and happy life. In the future, I hope to continue enjoying peaceful and bright days with my loving parents and daughter. Shut up. You're supposed to listen to what I say, Tom shouted as he suddenly slapped me across the face. What? Go cool off outside and don't bother coming back, I retorted, my voice shaking. It was the first time a man had ever hit me. Shock and disbelief froze me in place, and it took a few moments for the pain and fear to set in. I can't take this anymore. I've decided to leave this house and get a divorce. I had been preparing for this day. My name is Jennifer, just an average working wife. 3 years into marriage, this month was looking good, I muttered as I checked my bank account. Ever since I was single, I had a passion for saving money. Growing up in a not-so-rich family, I was used to living frugally. Thanks to that, even as an adult, living modestly was never a problem. Always spending carefully and saving as much as I could, I invested those savings into mutual funds and stocks. With a major in business administration, I was quite familiar with economics and how money works. I started investing in college, and so far, it had been smooth sailing. I always dreamed of buying a house where my entire family could live happily. I was close to reaching that goal. I met Tom at the company where we both worked. He was kind, reasonably good-looking, and popular among the female employees. We hit it off while working together, and our relationship progressed smoothly from dating to marriage. We didn't have any kids yet, but 3 years into our marriage and considering my age, I was starting to want children. However, with both of us working, our schedules hardly aligned. Tom wasn't interested in trying to have a baby. Every time I tried to discuss it, he changed the subject. I considered quitting my job to focus on our relationship, but if Tom didn't cooperate, I could have just quit. The reason Tom's not interested in having a kid is that our current lifestyle suits him just fine. Though we work at the same company, our departments differ. Tom's department doesn't require overtime, but the pay is the lowest in the company. My department is crucial for the company, so while there's a lot of overtime, the pay is higher. Tom gets home on time and lazes around playing video games until I get back. If we have a kid, he won't be able to keep doing that. That's why he's not enthusiastic about starting a family. For now, my focus is on building a home for a potential growing family. That's why I keep saving. I believe that once a child is born, Tom will surely help out. Another thing that bothers me is my mother-in-law. She lives just a 5-minute walk away from our apartment. Right after we got married, my father-in-law's health deteriorated. We were told he might need care, so we moved closer, but he passed away shortly after due to old age. Ever since then, my mother-in-law has been coming to our house almost every day. It would be fine if she just came by, but she always has something sarcastic to say. "I'm home. You're late, aren't you?" she mumbles without making eye contact. "Good evening. Do you always get home this late? Are you really working?" I wonder if she's going to make sarcastic comments again today. I'm exhausted from work and I just want to relax at home. But thanks to my mother-in-law's sarcasm, my home has become a place where I can't feel at ease. "So, what are you planning to do for Tom's dinner since you're getting home at this hour?" It's always like this. She only worries about Tom, who probably just lounges around after leaving work on time, and she blames me. "I'll start preparing it now." "You're going to start making it now? What time do you think it is?" While I'm being persistently blamed, Tom continues playing his video game. Where did the kind Tom go? Or is this his true self? In any case, why do I have to prepare meals for a fully grown adult who is not a child? We both work, so if Tom would do the housework when he gets home early, my burden would be significantly lighter. Such thoughts bubble up in my head. My mother-in-law has never worked and is a housewife. She has no intention of understanding the feelings of working women from the start. Besides, if she saw Tom doing housework, she would definitely start helping. Then I would get sarcastic comments from her again. Well, there's no way Tom is going to do the housework, so this worry is unnecessary. "Hey, Jennifer, are you listening?" Sorry, I'll start preparing the meal right away." In the end, it seems more peaceful for me to just handle everything alone, even amidst criticism. "That's all right. I've prepared everything and already fed Tom." "Oh, I see. Thank you. Of course, there's nothing prepared for me. I'll just fix my own meal, as usual." Sadly, this routine has become so common that I've grown accustomed to it. As I'm in the kitchen preparing dinner, I'd overhear this conversation. "Hey, Tom, I have a dinner party with my friends coming up. It's at that new French restaurant, so the membership fee is around $200. Could you cover it for me?" "Yeah. And I want to get some new clothes and go to the salon, so could you give me an additional $500? "Okay, got it." Tom responds easily without taking his eyes off his game. $500 for a meal with friends? What kind of sense of money does she have? Then, without asking, Tom rummages through my purse, takes out $500, and hands it to his mother. Thanks, Tom. You're a lifesaver. She thanks only Tom and puts the money in her wallet. I'm stunned. What have these people just done? Can they not see me? When my mother-in-law goes to the bathroom, I confront Tom. Why are you taking money out of my wallet? I had no choice. I didn't have any cash on me. That doesn't mean you can just take cash out of someone else's wallet. And my mother-in-law, who accepts the money, is just as bad. If you couldn't give her the money yourself, you should have said no. We don't have that kind of money to spare. Tom and I are arguing when my mother-in-law comes back. What happened? Is something wrong? My mother-in-law asks, concern in her voice, but before I can respond, Tom cuts in. Nothing's wrong. Nothing at all, he says quickly, avoiding eye contact with me. Doesn't Tom understand how difficult it is to pull $500 out of our budget? I handle our finances since my income is higher. I pay for everything from rent to living expenses from my account. Tom doesn't contribute his salary. He spends it all on games, gambling, and entertainment. I've asked him to contribute to the household expenses, but he always dodges the issue. Just last month, I know he gave his mother $500 because she wanted to buy clothes and a bag. The month before that, it was for a kimono, cosmetics, salon treatments, and spa expenses. He's been giving her $500 every month. As I'm stewing over these thoughts, my mother-in-law says, I heard there seemed to be a dispute about money, so I came by. Don't make a fuss just because I'm offering some pocket money. Taking care of your parents is a good deed. You'd want to do the same when your parents get older, right? My mother-in-law seems unfazed. The whole family has a distorted view of money. No matter how much we save, it all ends up being spent on my mother-in-law's extravagant expenses. Today, I muster up all my courage and speak up to her. We really don't have extra money. Supporting you with $500 every month is really hard for us. Upon hearing this, my mother-in-law lets out a deep sigh. This money is for socializing expenses. Buying new clothes and dining out with friends is important for socializing, isn't it? If it's just chatting with neighbors, isn't a coffee shop good enough? Why does it always have to be a fancy restaurant or an expensive inn? She's always updating her wardrobe for every occasion and footing everyone's bill. It's excessive, and not everyone even likes her. In fact, she's just being taken advantage of. You hardly engage with the neighbors. I'm doing all this networking for you. She's the one choosing to do all this. I didn't ask her to. Being stingy with socializing expenses is just being miserly. You're not skimping on Tom's socializing budget too, are you? Jennifer is quite a penny pincher, you know. I always have a hard time because she limits drinking and gambling expenses. Tom's drinking parties and gambling aren't social expenses. They're purely for entertainment. Being stingy about spending money on socializing won't help Tom get promoted. Jennifer, you really need to review your household budget. Tom and his mother-in-law say whatever they please. Today was just dreadful again. Maybe she felt relieved after taking the money and saying what she wanted. But as she heads to the exit, she glares at me again. If you want to get divorced, Tom, I think it's fine anytime. Your room is still there just as you left it. You can come back anytime. All right, thanks, Mom, Tom replied curtly, closing the door behind her with a heavy swing. What was all that just now? When I turned around, Tom had already immersed himself back into his video game. I was seething with anger as I confronted him. Why did you keep giving her $500 every month? And where is that money even coming from? Tom continued playing, seemingly oblivious to my words. Frustrated, I stood in front of the TV and demanded, "Are you even listening? I'm asking you what you're thinking." With an annoyed expression, Tom finally responded, "What's the big deal? It's just $500. Stop being so stingy. Do you have any idea how hard it is to take $500 out of our household budget?" "But Mom said it's for social expenses, so it's necessary," Tom argued casually. "That's not necessary at all. Why does it cost $500 just to socialize with neighbors? And why does she always foot the bill? This is absurd." No matter how passionately I argued, Tom remained indifferent. Whether he found it bothersome or just wanted to return to his game, he made no effort to understand my perspective. Also, are you considering getting divorced? If you're going to be that dismissive, I have my own thoughts on the matter. Tom didn't deny it. He was actually considering divorce. "Can you just move? I want to play my game," he said, brushing me aside with a gesture and returning to his game. "Maybe it's hopeless, Perhaps divorce is the best option, but I can't bring myself to make that decision, remembering the time I used to know. Then something happened. On my way home from work, I stopped by the local supermarket. I usually pay with cash, but today I didn't have the money, so I used my credit card. That's when the cashier gave me an awkward look. "Ma'am, it seems like this card could be used." "Huh? Why is that?" "It seems you've reached your limit." A sinking feeling hit me. I rushed home. Tom, are you here?" There was no response. Then I noticed Tom's bag on the floor and papers scattered around. "What's this?" I picked up the papers and found bills from numerous credit cards. These were family cards linked to my account. Tom has always struggled with managing money, often maxing out his credit cards. That's why his personal cards were maxed out, leaving him with only this family card. I quickly scanned the bills and saw a list of unfamiliar items: clothes, bags, shoes, high-end sushi, French cuisine. All luxury purchases. The total amount for all the bills was a staggering $50,000. I stood there in shock, counting the zeros to be sure there was no mistake. And then Tom and his mother arrived. "What's this about the credit card being charged $50,000? Did you use this?" "Yeah, I used it." "What do you mean by that?" "Mom asked me to go shopping with her and eat out." "Why did you use this card?" "My personal cards were maxed out. It can't be helped. Besides, this is just taking care of family. This money is coming out of my account, my personal account. We're married, so it's not just your account, right?" I collapsed on the spot, my knees buckling beneath me. All the money I had diligently saved was spent so carelessly. "Jennifer, you can't talk about my money when it's our shared finances as a married couple," my mother-in-law interjected, showing no remorse. "Jennifer, you claim you can't give me money even though you have it. How greedy can you be?" Tom's lack of remorse fueled my rage. All the pent-up frustration and hurt erupted at once. "Don't play games with me. This is the savings I worked hard for even before we got married. Give it back to me." "Hey, what are you talking about? What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. That's marriage, right?" "That's right. Instead of you showing gratitude to my parents, I'm doing it for you. You should be thanking me." And to think he's been getting $500 a month for pocket money, and now this secret credit card use behind my back. This includes money I saved before marriage. Using it without asking is nothing short of theft. "Give it back to me." "Hey, cut it out. Who are you calling a thief?" Tom retorted angrily at being labeled a thief. "This credit card is a family card. I can use it however I want since I'm part of the family." "That's right. Tom has been doing a lot for me. Besides, you didn't notice the $50,000 bill until now, right?" "So there's no issue," my mother-in-law chimed in. "The account linked to the credit card wasn't one I checked regularly, so I didn't notice right away. But that doesn't make this situation acceptable in any way." "That's not the point. Give me back my money." My anger overflowed, tears streaming down my face as I pleaded with him. "Shut up. You're my wife, so you should just listen to what I say. You should be grateful I'd even married someone like you." With those words, Tom suddenly slapped me across the face. "What? Go cool off outside and don't come back." It was the first time a man had ever hit me, and I was in shock. I stood there, unable to move, stunned by what had just happened. A few moments later, the pain and fear hit me. I couldn't take it anymore. That night, I resolved to divorce him and leave this house. I spent the night planning my next steps meticulously and went to bed. The next morning, Tom casually placed a single sheet of paper in front of me. It was a divorce form, and Tom's section was already filled out. "What? From now on, if you complain about me, we're getting divorced? If you don't want to divorce, then don't talk back to me. I'll handle the money from now on." With that, Tom grabbed the bank book and left for work. I couldn't believe how easily I had obtained the divorce form, something I thought would be the hardest part. Does he really think I still want to be with him after everything that's happened? Does he believe the word divorce scares me? I realized then that Tom's perception was skewed. But for me, this was a perfect opportunity. I gladly accepted the divorce form. My feelings for Tom had vanished completely. And then there was my financial security, the investment trusts and stocks I had managed since before we were married. With no major losses and everything going smoothly, I had reached a point where I could live off the returns alone. Through diligent saving and investment, I had accumulated around $500,000, tucked away in various accounts that Tom knew nothing about. I had spread the funds across multiple banks as a precaution against keeping such a large sum in one place. The bank book Tom took was just one of many. I completed my section of the divorce form, swiftly packed my bags, and left the house. I headed straight to the office and submitted the divorce form without hesitation. For the time being, I sought refuge at my parents' house. They were surprised to see me arrive with so much luggage, but they listened as I explained everything. While enjoying a peaceful stay at my parents' house, I began browsing real estate listings. Commuting from my parents' place was impractical, so I needed to find a new home soon. While scrolling on my smartphone, I stumbled upon an intriguing listing. A newly constructed house near the station, a perfect 15-minute walk from my workplace. I wasted no time and visited the real estate agency to inquire. The house was still under construction with interior work yet to begin, offering flexibility for customization. The location was ideal, and there was significant interest from potential buyers. Without hesitation, I decided to purchase the house and completed the payment that very day. I stayed at my parents' house while preparing for the move, and everything went smoothly. Hey, Jennifer, one day out of the blue, my ex-husband spoke to me at the office. I had been so caught up in the excitement of planning our new home that I had completely forgotten about him. Where the hell are you? Why aren't you answering your phone? I had received dozens, if not hundreds, of calls from Tom, but I had been ignoring them all along. And what about the divorce papers? I couldn't believe it and checked with the office, and they told me it's already been submitted. What the hell is going on? What do you mean, what's going on? You're the one who handed me those divorce papers. I simply did as you instructed. Don't play games with me. There's no way they would accept divorce papers submitted without your consent. Tom had personally handed me the divorce papers. How could he be so selfish? A divorce application submitted without my agreement won't be accepted. If I sue, you'll be charged with forgery. Serves you right. But Tom, you gave these to me. Your section is filled out by you, I explained patiently. Despite my explanation, Tom refused to listen. I won't accept it, he yelled, his voice resonating through the office. Employees passing by turned to see what the commotion was about. The divorce is already finalized. I've informed the company as well. You should do the same with your boss, I asserted, trying to distance myself from Tom. He grabbed my arm tightly. I won't accept it, you hear me? I won't let you have it your way. You can't escape from me, he said in a low voice, then left. My new home was a sanctuary. Every corner filled with my favorite room, furniture, and appliances brought a peace I hadn't felt in years of dreading going home. As I savored this newfound tranquility, the doorbell rang. Checking the monitor, I found no one there. Who is it? I called out. No answer. Suspicious, I scanned the area from my balcony, but saw no one. The following day, with the company closed, I eagerly began my morning routine, looking forward to cleaning my house. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. Curious, I stepped outside to find my former mother-in-law standing there. What do you want? I asked bluntly. It's not about what I want. What were you thinking, moving out without discussing it with the family? She scolded. Huh? Didn't Tom inform his mom about our divorce? How did she even find out my new address? Then it struck me. Last night's mysterious doorbell ring must have been Tom tracing me. Didn't Tom tell you? We're divorced, I informed her firmly. This is just a lover's quarrel. Withdraw the divorce immediately, she insisted. If you don't withdraw it, I'll sue you for forgery, Tom interjected unexpectedly, still hurling accusations. Why would I do that? You're the one who initiated it, right? I was losing my patience. While Tom and I debated, his mother had let herself into my house and was casually surveying the rooms. Well, this is quite a spacious house. Is it a duplex? With this much room, maybe I could move in, she mused aloud. Hey, you can't just come in without permission, I protested. Oh dear, listen to you accusing your elder of theft, she retorted, unfazed. Tom and his mother seemed to say whatever they please. Keeping my composure, I responded calmly. The divorce is finalized. The papers clearly show you initiated it, Tom. If you're serious about suing for forgery, we can settle it in court with lawyers, I proposed firmly. Lawyers? Court? Her tone shifted, finally grasping the gravity of the situation. She looked unsettled, then asserted, well, if you're divorcing, this house belongs to Tom, right? He and I will live here. I was taken aback. It was clear she had no understanding of Tom's financial situation. His low income and maxed-out credit cards meant owning the house was out of the question. This house is in my name. I purchased it with my savings, I clarified. What do you mean? How did you afford a house? Tom interjected, finally reacting. I explained that it was purchased with money I had earned from investments. Realizing it wasn't in Tom's name, his mother became furious. What's going on here? What are we supposed to do now? She demanded, clearly panicked. Her urgency stemmed from having sold their previous home upon hearing about the new house from Tom. I was surprised by her audacity to sell their home without discussing it with me, though I wouldn't have agreed to live together anyway. Fine, let's settle this in court. I'll ensure the divorce is withdrawn. I won't accept this divorce, she declared, storming off with Tom. Even if they did take it to court, the divorce papers clearly showed Tom's consent, and does he even have the money for a lawyer? I doubted it. If I were sued, I'd deal with it then. Afterward, I continued to live peacefully in my home. Time passed without incident, and I thought the matter was resolved. However, Tom began showing up repeatedly, asking to reconcile. Jennifer, I'm sorry for everything. Let's start over, he pleaded. I couldn't believe it. After everything he had put me through, I ignored his calls and visits, unsure when his temper might flare up, but his persistence escalated. Hey, stop ignoring me. I'll break this window if you don't come out right now, he threatened. It was becoming increasingly like harassment. He began stalking me at work, incessantly calling and making it difficult for me to focus. Sometimes, he waited for me at the exit of my workplace or near my home. Feeling scared, I started commuting with a friend and sought help from my boss. When it started affecting my daily life, I decided to involve the police. Following that, the police began patrolling around my home twice daily. During one of these patrols, they caught my ex-husband yelling outside my new house, and he was arrested on the spot. He was found guilty of stalking, harassment, and making threats, leading to his arrest. Additionally, he lost his job and is likely serving time in prison now. News of my ex-mother-in-law's son's arrest for threats spread quickly in the neighborhood. She, who used to be social and well-known among the neighbors, couldn't even leave her house anymore and eventually moved far away. It's rumored she now lives alone in a small old wooden apartment, as she no longer has her own house to return to. Finally free from all of this, I immediately contacted my parents. They had supported me when I moved back to the countryside, so I invited them to come live with me in my new house, and they happily agreed. Though we're not wealthy, they raised me with love, and now I have the chance to care for them in return, which brings me immense joy. Next, I plan to invite my friends over for a barbecue or host drinks at my place. I've lived much of my life thinking I had to endure things, but from now on, I want to prioritize self-care and cherish every day.